Soulbound to the Orc by Luna Draven. Content note: this is an orc fantasy romance. This is the closed-door edition. The love scenes fade discreetly to black, and the strong language has been softened. It still features a careful giant of a man, tusks, and the kind of swoony size difference both leads have feelings about. It also contains battlefield violence and the vengeful dead, a 100-year peace breaking apart in a single night, grief carried quietly, a mother lost to fever, a dying boy on an old battlefield, and a heroine whose own people call her hope a child's mistake right up until it saves them. He has to duck through every doorway. She braids flowers into her hair on the worst night of her life and refuses to take them out. You've been warned. For everyone who has ever told their hope was naive. Where the flowers anyway? The whole valley smells like roasting apples and old grudges, and I've decided to be optimistic about exactly one of those. I hum the chorus of The Shepherd's Daughter while I adjust the straps on my pack and weave through the bustle of merchants setting up their stalls in the fading light. The Blood Moon Festival grounds sprawl across the valley floor in patches of color. Half sit on the human side, half on the orc side. A strip of neutral ground is stitched between them. Harvest garlands drape between the posts, and gourds and corn stalks are stacked in piles that make the whole place look gorgeous. I grin at my own terrible joke. Nell, Captain Merrick's voice cuts through my humming. Quit wandering and focus. I am focused, sir. I touch the hilt of Buttercup, my favorite short sword, and give him my brightest smile. Perimeter looks clear, the merchants are settling in, and no one's swinging yet. That word at the end is doing a lot of work. He crosses his arms, and his leather armor creaks. The scar bisecting his left eyebrow pulls tight when he frowns, which is always. Listen, girl, orcs can't be trusted, and pretty thoughts won't matter when one of them puts a tusk through your throat. Eyes open, sword ready. My jaw tightens behind my smile, and I hold it there anyway. He thinks I'm naive. It's in the weary set of his shoulders, and it's in how his eyes skip past the flowers in my hair. They all see a girl too stupid to understand how the world works. They're wrong, but explaining it never helps. I'll stay alert, sir. I bob a little curtsy that makes his frown deepen. Promise. He grunts and stalks off to bark orders at someone else, no doubt about orc duplicity or the bloodshed ahead. I wait until he's out of earshot, then let out a long breath. I pluck a perfect crimson leaf from a nearby branch, its veins gold against the red. I tuck it into my braid alongside the purple wildflower I found this morning, and my fingers work the familiar pattern without thinking. My hands always know what to do when my brain gets too loud. The festival grounds hum with tension as the sun sinks lower. Human merchants line up on one side and orc vendors on the other, and a strip of neutral territory runs between them where brave souls from both peoples mingle with careful politeness. A human woman turns an orc-forged knife to the light and asks the price, and an orc child accepts a honey cake from a human baker with wide eyes. A coin changes hands. A child says thank you. This could work. In my pocket, I touch the smooth river stone, one of my lucky collection, found the day after the riverside skirmish ended without bloodshed. Legend says the first treaty that bound these lands was sealed with human and orc blood, mingled. I just have to help keep everyone safe tonight, and the rest will take care of itself. Nell, over here. Marcus, one of our caravan's wine merchants, waves from his stall. This is going to be grape, right? The festival. A laugh shakes loose as I jog over, my boots crunching on fallen leaves. Downright grape, Marcus. Gods help us all. He grins and goes back to arranging his bottles in neat rows, and his hands are shaking while he does it. Everyone's on edge. This is the first real harvest festival between humans and orcs in 3 generations. If it works, more festivals like it can follow. If it fails, we are looking at another decade of border skirmishes and dead teenagers. No pressure. My patrol route takes me on past him, and I check exits and sightlines out of habit. The western half shows off the human decorating style, and the eastern half shows off orc aesthetics. Harvest wreaths woven from grain and wildflowers hang on our side, and intricate bone carvings and leatherwork crowd theirs. The neutral strip in the middle tries to blend both, which means it looks confused but well-intentioned. Kind of like me, according to Captain Merrick. The crowd thickens as more vendors arrive, and I slip between the stalls. My collection has grown over the years, and each token marks a day where something terrible could have happened but didn't. A commotion near the wine stalls pulls my attention. "Excuse me, sweetheart." A hand clamps around my upper arm, and the fingers dig in hard. "Why don't you put down that pretty sword and come have a drink with a real man?" The merchant holding my arm is human and middle-aged, and his breath reeks of ale he started drinking too early. His partner stands behind him, looking uncomfortable but not stepping in. Typical. "I'm working, friend." I keep my voice light, but I appreciate the offer. "Wasn't asking." His grip tightens and he yanks me toward his stall. "Too many damn orcs here. You should be somewhere safe with me instead of." I hook my free hand behind his elbow, apply pressure to the nerve cluster Captain Merrick drilled into us during training, and watch him fold until his knees hit the ground with a satisfying thud. "Hands to yourself, friend." I release him and step back, still smiling. "I'm armed and dangerous." He stares up at me with his mouth hanging open until his partner finds his spine and drags him away, muttering apologies. Other merchants within earshot bend over their wares and are careful not to look at me. Captain Merrick catches my eye from across the way and gives a single approving nod before he returns to his own patrol. Small victories. I flex my fingers and adjust Buttercup's sheath. That drunk was harmless. He was just stupid and scared like everyone else. But a sharp, metallic tang sits on my tongue, and the taste of it pulls me back 5 years. The memory crashes in before I can stop it. Orc tusks gleam in a fading sun. Steel scrapes free of a dozen sheaths at once, and men shout in 2 languages, and the smell of churned mud rolls up the slope. A skirmish erupted without warning. Boys not much older than me swung swords at each other because adults had told them to, and I froze in the branches above and could not make myself move. A human soldier went down hard in the leaves, and his own commander raised a sword to finish him. An orc stepped between them. The commander beat him for it, using the flat of the blade over and over while the young orc took it without fighting back. He protected the human soldier with his own body until the commander gave up and retreated with his unit, leaving them both bleeding in the leaves. I climbed down after everyone had gone. The orc was dying, and he spoke in broken common, the words coming slow. "Not his fault. It's not my fault. They're just boys, both of them." He died while I held his hand. His skin was warm, and then it wasn't. Just boys, both just boys. I've carried his voice for 5 years, and I carry it still. "Hey," a gentle voice pulls me back to the present. Marcus stands next to me, concern creasing his forehead. "You all right? You look pale." I blink. My hand has wrapped around the broken arrow tip in my pocket. I found it on that same battlefield months later. It's rusted and harmless now. I've been standing still in the middle of the path with the festival moving around me. "Fine." I make the smile come brighter and let the arrow tip go. "Just thinking." "About orcs." He glances toward the eastern side, where orc vendors are setting up their own stalls. "Worried." "Hopeful." I squeeze his shoulder. "This is going to work, Marcus, you'll see." He doesn't look convinced. He goes back to his wine bottles anyway. I return to my patrol route. The sun sinks lower and the blood moon rises. I've seen harvest moons before, golden and huge on the horizon. But the blood moon climbs the sky deep red-orange, and the color sits in my teeth and turns my stomach. It casts everything in shades of copper and shadow. Captain Merrick says it peaks around midnight. That's when the veil between worlds grows thin. Old wards wake. We don't get a say. Perfect timing for a peace festival. I watch the crowd as twilight deepens into true night. The initial wariness fades as merchants on both sides realize nobody's attacked yet. Humans browse orc metalwork while orcs sample human pastries. A group of human children dare each other to talk to an orc child selling carved wooden toys. Soon they're playing a complicated game involving dice and shouting. Conversations bloom on neutral ground, and this is it. This is the thing I argued for through every dismissive comment and cynical prediction. It is happening right in front of me. While nobody's watching, I collect another lucky item, an acorn cap from the edge of neutral territory, and tuck it into my pocket with the others. Evidence from tonight. "Hello," I call out to a massive shape blocking the path ahead. He stands right in the middle of neutral ground, looking grim. It takes a second for my eyes to adjust to the twilight. When they do, I realize I'm looking up. Way up. He's young, maybe a few years older than me, with deep green skin and broad shoulders that block out half the sunset. Twin hand axes hang at his belt, and his jaw is set in a line so hard it looks painful. But he isn't aggressive. He's just watching. He looks down at me and blinks like he's surprised to find a human this close. Beautiful evening for a festival, isn't it? I press on, keeping my tone cheerful despite the scowl carved into his face. Though I have to say, the tension is grave. He stares at me, thrown off balance, and it's a good look on him. It makes him seem less the terrifying warrior and more a guy trying to do his job. "What are you doing here, human?" His voice is a low rumble, gruff but not unkind. This is close to orc territory. "Nell," I offer my name freely and keep my hands where he can see them, fingers loose at my sides. "I'm part of the merchant guard detail. You." "Rune," he seems to regret answering as soon as he's done it, and he glances around for his commander. "Security." "Excellent," I reach into my pouch. "Then you should try this. Honey cake from the baker 3 stalls over. Real honey, not the watered stuff, and worth the walk." I hold out the wrapped cake. He stares at it and doesn't reach. "You should not be this close to orc territory," he says again, ignoring the offering. "It's not safe." Then it's a good thing I'm making the right moves. I don't withdraw my hand. This is neutral ground, and the cake's part of the deal. He looks from the cake to my face, and his expression shifts from wary to bewildered. "You're either very brave or very foolish." I take a bite of the cake myself and hum at the sweetness. Can it be both? I prefer to think of it as optimistically reckless. Covers more ground that way. The corner of his mouth twitches up and he catches it. That is not reassuring. I wasn't trying to be reassuring, I was trying to be honest. I tuck the rest away. "You're Kravik's younger brother, aren't you? I heard people talking. They said you're a good scout, but you made a mistake once and haven't been trusted since." He flinches and his shoulders close. "Yes, that would be me." "They also said you've never made the same mistake twice," I murmur. "That you're careful now, and observant, and that the smart ones take their cues from where you put yourself." He looks at me properly for the first time, amber and startled. "Nobody said anything kind about me in a long while." "Not all of them," I grin. "Some of them just called you moss-brained and moved on, but the smart ones, they're watching where you watch." The blood moon reaches its peak overhead. Everyone stops moving at the same instant. My next breath catches. The wards etched into the posts around us flare silver bright, too painful to look at. Screams tear through the neutral ground as people point to the sky. A dim, shapeless form contorts against the red moon. His axes are in his hands before he speaks the next word. "Stone and steel." That's not good. I draw Buttercup and Daisy, and the familiar weight of steel grounds me as the world tilts sideways. That is nowhere near good. The wards shatter with a sound like fabric tearing and bone breaking, all of it at once, and darkness floods the neutral ground. "Everyone to your side," Captain Merrick's voice bellows from somewhere across the chaos. "Move." Rune grabs my arm, his grip hard enough to bruise. "Get to your people, now." I'm trying. I yank against his grip, not to fight him but to gesture at the chaos between us and the human side. I'm a little blocked by vengeful spirits, in case you missed it. He releases me and draws his axes, stepping in front of me to block a spirit lunging out of the shadow. The central shrine has to be the source, if we can reinforce the ritual before dawn. Then point me at the shrine. I step up beside him until our backs brush and we form a defensive circle. "I'll take the left, scout. Try not to bleed on me." We move together into the nightmare, leaving the safety of separation behind for something far more dangerous, which is trust. The blood moon hangs overhead, and in its light the ward dome shimmers above us, trapping everyone inside. But for the first time since the sky turned red, I don't feel alone. I hum that old shepherd's tune between breaths, the melody a defiant thread in the chaos, and I match my steps to his. Buttercup goes up. Daisy goes wide. We push into the dark where the screaming is loudest.
"Just watch," my brother said. "Don't engage, don't investigate, just watch." I test the balance of my hand axe again and shift my weight from foot to foot. Standing still has always made my skin itch. 3 years of it have not cured the feeling. The orc side of the festival sprawls in front of me. Vendors arrange their wares with the careful slowness of people pretending not to watch the human side. I am supposed to take it all in like a youngling on his first patrol. I am 22 and a warrior and not a child who needs supervision. Kravik does not see it that way. 3 years have passed since my failed mission, and he still talks to me like I might bolt off chasing shadows at any moment. He weighs me at the gate every morning and finds me short, and I feel it between my shoulders all day. The blood moon comes up behind the human side just after sunset, massive and copper-red, just as the elders warned it would. Ancient magic, they said, the kind that keeps old battlefield spirits sleeping. The wards carved along the festival posts catch the light and begin to pulse, silver bleeding through the wood. I tell myself the same thing I have told myself all evening. The wards have held for 100 years, and tonight will be no different. The old training takes the reins on its own, and I read the ground as Kravik trained me to. Quince roasts meat 3 stalls down, smoke carrying west, 3 entrances, 2 choke points if the night turns. The wind shifts northeast and brings me human bread and spiced wine from across the boundary, and under all of it, cold and faint, the mineral smell of the wards working. Another scout passes my position. He is a decade older than me. His clan marks cover both arms in the intricate patterns I have not earned and may never earn. He gives me the casual dismissal I have learned to expect from every warrior who outranks me. Quiet youngling. Secure, I tell him, and I hold my voice flat because the alternative is letting him hear how tight my jaw is. No threats. He moves on without waiting, which is mercy of a kind, because youngling lodges in my throat and stays there. I have killed raiders in border skirmishes. I have tracked enemy movement through terrain that breaks most scouts. None of it matters, because to every one of them I am still the kid who cried wolf. I was 19 the night it happened. First solo assignment, the eastern border, report back by dawn. At dusk I saw movement in the trees and read it as armed humans in formation, a war party heading for our lands while our warriors were away at the autumn hunt. So I bolted home to sound the warning rather than creeping close enough to be sure, and Kravik mobilized every fighter we had. We marched out in full battle array and found a clutch of refugees fleeing bandits, families with children and elders who could barely walk. They saw an orc war party come down on them out of the dark. They screamed and scattered. My face still goes hot when it comes back to me. I can call up my brother's face the moment he understood. I see how the other scouts stopped meeting my eyes. I hear the elders murmuring about young warriors who see threats where there are none. Kravik took my scouting duties that same night. Until you learn patience, he said, which we both understood to mean until you stop being the liability who cannot tell a refugee from a raider. So I have spent 3 years learning to stand still, a particular torture for a scout, and I am standing still now. I make myself breathe and look at the festival as I am supposed to. Humans and orcs are mingling in the neutral strip with no fights and no incidents. Merchants haggle while pretending not to notice the color of the hand across the table. A pack of human kids edges nearer to the young orc hawking his whittled toys, egging one another on. This is what peace is meant to look like, or close enough that the elders will be pleased. I tell myself boring work is still valuable work. I try to believe it. A flash of bright color across the neutral ground pulls my eye, and the training snaps tight before my thoughts catch up. Humans do not wear colors that vivid to a joint festival. Vivid colors make you a target if the night goes wrong, and any guard worth the name knows it. So the human female crossing the crowd in fighting leathers dyed cheerful green and gold is telling me something. I just cannot decide what. Flowers are braided into her hair. She looks dressed for a spring dance, not a treaty that 3 generations of dead men failed to keep. A fool would dress like that. So would someone too sure of herself to care, and I have learned not to assume the fool. I track her without deciding to. She is small even for a human. The top of her head reaches only to my chest. Twin short swords ride her hips, and she carries them like a fighter, not an ornament. She moves without the wariness that stiffens every other guard here, loose and easy, her shoulders down. That ease is the part I cannot read. She is humming. I can hear it across the open ground, some tavern tune that has no business in a place like this. A wine merchant grabs her arm with a drunk's clumsy fingers. She folds him to his knees with a single nerve strike. She never stops humming. The man staggers off, cradling his wrist. She straightens her weapons and moves on. Skilled then, skilled enough to drop a threat without drawing a crowd, which is not the work of a fool. Then she does the thing I cannot fit anywhere. She gathers things off the ground as she walks. A stone, an acorn cap, a festival ribbon someone trampled. She squirrels each one away as if it were coin. The flowers in her hair are already wilting at the edges. I have never in my life seen a guard on watch collect pretty things off a battlefield. Cover would be deliberate. This is habit, something her hands do while her eyes stay on the crowd. The blood moon climbs, and a weight settles over the clearing until my tusks ache from it. The wards burn brighter, silver pulsing faster through the posts, and I have watched wards wake before on border patrols, but never like this. I should report it to Kravik. I should send a youngling runner east and stay at my post. Instead, I cross the neutral ground and put myself in her way. She greets me like a neighbor, cracks a grave joke at a peace festival, offers a honey cake wrapped in cloth to an orc on a battlefield. I do not take it. She bites it herself, easy as if the dome under us were only a meadow. She knows whose brother I am, names Kravik to my face, and does not flinch when I give her the bitter version of the story. Instead, she gives back the version the guards never say out loud, the one where I learned my lesson and never repeated it. I file her again, harder this time. Skilled, not stupid, a fighter who knows the size of the warrior in front of her and chooses kindness anyway. The blood moon climbs to its peak. The wards stop holding. The human captain bellows for his side to fall back. I hesitate, and I despise the hesitation. She is human. Kravik's voice in my head tells me to leave her and get to my own lines. Let the humans guard their own. Saving a human proves nothing to the clan, only that I am still soft. She's looking at the rising dark the same focused way she looked at the drunk, reading it, weighing it, deciding what to do with it. A guard who fights like that is a guard I would be a fool to abandon. But that reason is too plain, and underneath it my feet have already refused to move. I cannot leave her. I take her arm and tell her to get to her people. She yanks back, but she isn't fighting me. She only points at the wall of spirits standing between her and her own people. She is right. The dead are everywhere, knocking over stalls and snuffing lanterns, manifesting in waves out of ground that has held them down for a century. I let her go and bring both axes up. A spirit takes shape between us, century-old armor and a blade of shadow already swinging for her head. I move without thought. My axe passes through its middle. It shrieks and dissolves into a curl of smoke. Solid enough to cut then, that is something. We only need to be quick and lucky and not tire. It all traces back to the central shrine, I tell her, putting myself between her and the worst of it. Her blades catch the red moonlight at my shoulder. If we can restore the ritual before sunrise, we have a chance. She drops into a fighting stance with her back against mine, no discussion needed, and asks if I have any scouting wisdom about killing the dead. I tell her I am working on it and take another spirit. It reforms and lunges. I admit aloud that they will not stay down. She drives both swords through one and says we have to reach the shrine. I tell her we have to survive the next 30 seconds first. We move back to back in tight formation, slipping through the gaps. She laughs. Her laugh cuts clean through the screaming and the dying silver around us. She sounds like the dead are an inconvenience, not the end of us. The sound jolts through me. She sounds unbreakable. Standing in her noise, the spirits feel smaller than they did a moment ago. Now I have her whole and cannot unsee it. She hums tavern songs and braids dying flowers into her hair, and she kills without flinching, and all of it is real at once. I find a gap in the patrol and call it. She's already running before I finish the word, and I go after her. We dive behind an overturned merchant stall and crouch low, breathing hard. The festival grounds break apart around us into shadow and screaming. The silver light gutters out. The blood moon throbs sick and red at its peak. The curse is at full strength now. The worst of the night has arrived. The long hours to dawn stretch ahead of us like a road through enemy ground. Nell peers around the stall toward the shrine. We're cut off from both our groups. I see it. I count the spirits between us and any kind of safety. That is the one count I let myself keep. It keeps us alive. The shrine sits 200 paces away through hostile ground, with no clear path, no backup, and no plan worth the name. Worse than that, the dead are not wandering. They move in deliberate patterns, and patterns mean something is thinking on the other side of them. Then we make a plan. Her grip on her swords does not loosen. You know the terrain, and I know how a human festival lays out. Between us, we can find a route. I should say no. I should tell her to stay hidden while I scout the path alone. That's what a careful scout would do. 3 years of penance have trained me for it, but she is right. Kravik's voice has nothing useful to say against it for once. Her knowledge set beside mine might be the only road to that shrine that ends with both of us alive. She looks at me without a shred of doubt. It's as though I were already the scout the guards described, not the one who cried wolf. I want to be that man for her, want it badly enough that my jaw aches with it. Stone and steel, I say, and drag a hand back through my hair. Fine, but we do this smart. We don't split up, and we don't throw our lives away playing hero. Agreed, she rolls her shoulders, though I reserve the right to make moderately heroic gestures if the situation calls for it. Moderately heroic is not a real thing. It comes close to a smile this time, and I do not quite stop it. It is now, she grins, ready when you are, scout. The spirits draw in around our cover, and the blood moon hangs swollen overhead. We are trapped in a cursed festival ground with the vengeful dead. We have no real idea how to undo what the night has done. I grip my axes and try to ignore her grin. Somewhere between the grave joke and that laugh cutting through the chaos, I stopped counting her as one more human to assess. Now the thought of her going down in this turns my hands cold on the hafts, and my whole chest pulls toward her without asking me first. Bad timing, and I have no time to argue with it. Tight formation, I tell her, because a plan is all I have to give. Watch each other's blind spots and move fast through the openings. If we get separated in this, we're dead. Understood, she settles her grip on her swords. And Rune, thanks for not leaving me to get eaten by angry ghosts. Thank me when we're still breathing. I take the edge of our cover and map the route through the chaos. The spirits patrol in threes, leaving gaps a fast pair could thread if we time it right. Ready on 3, 1, 2. We go into the nightmare together. Just watch, my brother said, and I tried, and look where the watching has brought me. Nell falls in half a step off my left shoulder, blades up, her breathing fast and steady. Then under it, she starts to hum the same tavern song from before the wards broke. She throws the tune out into the dark and dares it to come for her. I fall into rhythm beside her and let it pull us both toward the shrine.
A spirit blade cuts the air where my head was an instant ago. I roll left, come up swinging, and drive Buttercup through the Shadow Warrior's chest. It shrieks and breaks into smoke that tastes of grave dirt and old copper. Another one manifests behind me, and I'm already spinning, Daisy finding the gap in its ancient armor. East breaking, 4 incoming. Rune's voice cuts through the chaos, steady and certain. 3 seconds to your 6, 2 on the flank. I pivot before he finishes, intercepting the spirit lunging for his blind spot. My blade drags through shadow and a cold thickness that pulls at the steel like wet clay, and the thing screams and unravels to nothing. We've been fighting for maybe 20 minutes since the festival wards failed. It feels like hours. A glance upward shows the blood moon has scarcely moved from its zenith. My arms burn from the constant motion and my lungs protest the pace, but stopping means dying, so I keep moving. Rune stays beside me, his axes carving through spirits with brutal efficiency. The overturned merchant stall gives us cover for now. It won't last. The spirits circle our position and probe for weakness with a patient menace that's worse than any rush. The central shrine is our target. Rune sweeps the perimeter once, marking the threats between us and it. 200 paces. If the blood moon ritual broke down there, the shrine might still hold the original instructions. So both our peoples die if we can't reinforce whatever shattered. I check my weapons, and the familiar weight grounds me. No pressure. He huffs out a breath that isn't quite a laugh. You handle pressure with jokes. Better than handling it with screaming, I point out. The spirits surge forward in a coordinated wave. The motion cuts off whatever he might have said back. We move together without discussion, falling into a rhythm we've been building since this nightmare started. He reads threats from the perimeter while I take anything that gets close. We're both adapting to the other's fighting style. It's happening faster than minutes should allow. I spin under a shadow blade and drive Daisy up through a spirit's ribcage. The wrongness hits me at once. I'm cutting into something that's only smoke and hatred. I'm already turning toward the next threat as it dissolves. The pattern repeats itself, mechanical and necessary. I don't let myself dwell on how tired my arms are. I don't count how many more of these things keep rising out of the dark. North collapsing, Rune's voice guides me through the murk. Gap opening in 4, 3, watch your left. A spirit materializes at my shoulder. I see the blade coming and know I can't block in time. Still, I pivot anyway. Standing still is the only thing worse than being a half-second late. Rune's axe passes through its neck before I finish the thought. He steps into the space between me and the next wave, blocking the worst of the assault while I drag in a breath. He keeps doing that, putting himself in the way to cover the gaps I leave. I should not be tracking how often he steps between me and a blade. I am, and I do not know what to do with the count. We're supposed to be enemies, or at least wary strangers thrown together by a bad night. Yet fighting beside him feels natural in a way I can't explain. I don't have time to examine it now. I shake off the awareness and slide into position at his right flank. A spirit lunges through a gap in his defense. I get there first, both swords finding purchase in shadow flesh. As the thing screams, I'm already moving to the next one, falling back into our partnership. So I fight and breathe and keep moving. The spirits keep coming and we keep cutting them down. We work our way toward the shrine on nothing but a stubborn refusal to die. The festival grounds felt peaceful this morning. Now they have turned into a nightmare of shadow and ancient rage. Every decorative booth and merchant stall is either cover or a death trap. We're in grave danger, I announce, parrying a shadow blade as the pun slips out. Rune groans behind me. You're joking. You're making jokes right now. Coping mechanism. Either I laugh or I scream, and laughing keeps my hands steadier. Your humor is terrible. Your face is terrible, I shoot back, then wince at myself because that was about the wit of a 6-year-old. Sorry, that was. Accurate, one side of his mouth tugs upward this time. I've been told I look like I swallowed something bitter. You look fine. It slips out too honest before I can rein it in, and I cover it with a quick grin. For someone covered in spirit residue and fighting for his life anyway. He makes a noise that might be a laugh or might be choking, and it's genuinely hard to tell in the middle of active combat. We break through the spirit line and sprint for a collapsed festival arch. We've only just thrown ourselves behind the stone when a warrior manifests in the gap we just crossed. He stands a head taller than the rest. It wears the spectral mockery of a rusted crown, and where its face should be there's only a churning void of hate. Every other spirit out here screams. This one laughs instead, a low, rolling sound that I feel in my teeth. It doesn't lun or flail like the others do. It turns that crowned head, slow and deliberate. The void of its face settles on me, then on Rune. It marks us like a butcher marking a line on a carcass. It lifts a blade of viscous darkness and points. The scattered spirits stop their aimless circling. They wheel toward our arch as one and come. They are no longer probing, no longer patient. All of them pour as the crown thing aimed them. We both press into the cold stone, gasping, as the wave breaks against the threshold. And then they break short of us. The spirits crowd to within an arm's length of the arch and go no farther, snarling at a line they can't seem to cross. Even the crowned one halts there. It tilts its head, then drags a blade of viscous darkness along the boundary so the old magic flares blue against the stone, and again, harder. Its laughter doesn't fade. It settles into something patient and counting. This arch is older than the festival, older than the booths and the bunting. Carvings cover it with symbols that predate both our peoples. Maybe it marked a boundary or stood as a ceremonial gateway. Whatever it is, the dead won't step past it. The old magic still clinging to the weathered stone holds them back. I hum that old tavern melody under my breath, off-key and bound to annoy, but it keeps my breathing slow and my hands from shaking. My lucky stone has gone warm from riding in my pocket, and its familiar edges press into my palm when I close my hand around it. Rune doesn't tell me to stop humming. He studies our route toward the distant shrine. Then he runs a hand through his hair until it sticks up wild. The gesture makes him look younger, less the grim warrior and more someone my own age trying hard not to come apart. The spirits won't cross the stone. His assessment voice is steadier than mine would be. Old magic, ceremonial markers that still hold even after the festival wards failed. How long will it hold us safe? I drop my gaze to the carved symbols, and something in them snags at the back of my mind. Can we rest here a minute before the next push? Maybe. They're testing the edge, but they aren't getting through. We might have a little while. A little while? Not much, but more than nothing, so I let myself slide down the stone with my back against the arch, and every muscle screams. My legs go heavy the moment they stop holding me up, but we're alive, and that has to count. Rune takes up a post near the edge of our shelter. He watches the dead circle, alert and ready. I know he must be as wrung out as I am. Blood runs dark against the green of his left forearm, where a spirit's blade caught him during that last push. You're hurt. I push myself upright despite my body's protest. Let me see. It's nothing. He waves me off, but I catch the careful way he holds the arm. A scratch. That is not a scratch, that's a gash, and you took it covering me. I move closer and reach for him, so the least you can do is let me look. He hesitates, then turns his arm into the moonlight to give me access. The wound runs the length of his forearm, deeper than I'd hoped, the spirit's blade having carved well into the muscle. Not life-threatening if we treat it, but a long way from fine. Stubborn orc. This needs cleaning and binding now. I examine the cut as my mother taught me, reading the damage. You're lucky the blade missed the big vessels, but leave it open and you'll be fighting one-handed by the time we reach that shrine. We don't have the supplies for proper treatment, and we need to be at the shrine before dawn. He watches me work, tracking my hands. There's no time for field medicine. Then we make time, because I didn't keep you alive this long just to watch you bleed out from sheer stubbornness. I hold his gaze until he sees I mean it. I'm not stitching you back together out here in the dark. That can wait for somewhere with light and clean thread. But I can get it clean and wrapped, and that buys us the shrine. He tips his head down at me, amused despite himself. You're very bossy for someone half my size. It catches me off guard because he's right. I come up to his chest. His shoulders are broad enough that I could hide behind him whole. Until this exact moment, I've had no room in my head for anything but staying alive, and now the sheer size of him crowds in. Which is not helpful. Focus on the wound. I'm the right amount of bossy. I tear a strip from my shirt hem, and the fabric is already ruined from the fighting. Now hold still. I clean the wound as best I can. I tip water from my canteen over the torn flesh and wipe away the worst of the spirit residue. Then I bind it with the makeshift bandage. He doesn't flinch when I press the cloth to the cut, just watches me with that same focused intensity he gives everything else. You're good at this, he says, healer training. I knot the bandage and check the tension. My mother was the village healer before she died. She taught me enough to keep people breathing in an emergency. I'm sorry about your mother. The condolence is unexpected and plainly meant, and I have to swallow before I can answer. It was years ago. She taught me well before the fever took her. He nods like only someone who has lost his own can. A quiet moment sits between us. Beyond the arch, the spirits prowl. I look back at the carvings, and this time the snag at the back of my mind pulls loose into something I can almost read. The symbols aren't only decoration. They march around the arch's curve in ordered rows. The longer I look, the more the lines resolve into letters, old ones. They are the angular shapes my mother used to trace for me on the hearthstone when she thought no one important was listening. A pre-common tongue, she'd called it, close enough to a dialect she knew that she could pick her way through it. I can read some of this. My voice comes out hushed, surprised at myself. Not all, but some. Rune goes still. You're certain. My mother taught me a dialect close to it. She said the old treaty words were carved everywhere once if you knew how to look. I trace a line of figures with my fingertip, sounding them out under my breath, and the meaning surfaces piece by piece. Blood to open. That part's clear. And here, a word given after, 2 halves. My finger stops on a deeper cut rune, a mark like 2 clasped hands. It's the old seal. The treaty that bound this whole valley wasn't sealed with ink. They sealed it by mingling orc blood with human. Then they sealed it again with a spoken word. The 2 of them stood together as they did it. Enemies turned allies, blood to bind, and the word to make it hold. The 2-part seal, Rune draws it out, like a name you hadn't spoken aloud in a long time. My father told me of it when I was small. I thought it was only a story he liked. My mother said the same thing, old treaties, 2 parts, enemies turned allies. I look up from the stone to find him already watching me. We thought they were just stories, bedtime stories, and the broken thing we're walking toward is the exact ritual they were trying to tell us about. For a moment, neither of us says anything. The carved figures on the arch are doing what the symbols describe. A human and an orc stand shoulder to shoulder, facing outward. Their blades are raised against something the stone doesn't name. My father believed it could be done again. Rune's voice stays low. That the old hatreds didn't have to outlast us. His own clan called him weak for thinking so. Was he? No, it comes out flat and cert. He was braver than the ones who called him a coward. It's easy to keep hating. He wanted something harder than that. My mother believed the same. The words come up slow because I don't say them out loud much. Everyone in the village thought she was naive, soft, and then the fever took her before she ever got to be proven right. I press my thumb along a seam in the cold stone. She'd have liked this, I think. You and me, alive only because we've spent the last hour keeping each other that way. It's the whole thing she believed in, and we're doing it without even meaning to. He doesn't fill the silence with anything tidy, and I'm grateful for it. He just nods once, like he's filing it somewhere it'll keep. Then we'd better not get it wrong, I say, reaching for something lighter before the moment can swallow me. Sounds like there's a lot riding on us not getting it wrong. Then we won't, he says, and a dry humor flickers at the edge of his expression. The shrine waits in the distance, an ancient stone shape that promises answers if we can only reach it. 100 paces, give or take, though with the spirits massed between here and there it might as well be 100 miles. We should plan the approach. Rune shifts his weight, and his mind is already chewing on the problem. The shrine's the most heavily defended ground out there. The dead are guarding it, which is exactly why we need to be standing on it. Agreed. I study the path, hunting for gaps in the formations. But we need something better than charge through and hope. That has worked so far. Right up until you got stabbed covering me. I nod at his bandaged arm. Next time, warn me before you play hero. Next time, watch your blind side. There's no heat in it, and he's right. I got sloppy, let a spirit close, and he paid for it. I sit with that, and it won't sit easy. I'm used to working alone, answerable only to my own survival. Having someone cover my mistakes and take the hits meant for me leaves a debt. I don't know how to carry it. Thank you, I say. For the save, I should have seen it coming. We're partners now, he says it like he counts steps. Partners cover each other, that's how it works. Partners, the word lands in my palm and my fingers close on it without my asking. I can work with a partner who watches my six. His smile is small but real, and it eases the hard set of his face. Good, because you're stuck with me until we put this right. Could be stuck with worse. I grin back, and a little of my usual humor comes home. At least you're good in a fight. High praise from someone who makes puns in the middle of one. The puns are strategic. They confuse the enemy. They confuse everyone, he corrects, but he's still smiling. The moment stretches between us, lighter than anything we've shared since the wards fell. We're two people sheltering in old ruins, trading bad jokes. Both of us pretend we aren't afraid of what comes next. Beyond the arch, the crowned spirit hasn't moved on, and its laughter hasn't faded. It stands at the head of the pack, rusted crown tilted, and that void of a face turns steadily toward us. It waits, and the laughter ticks on under the weight like a clock. The others test the boundary more often now, in time with it, as if its patience is teaching them something. We should rest while it lets us, Rune says, settling against the stone, though he keeps his axes within reach. Let your arms come back. The next push toward the shrine will be worse than anything we've hit yet. How much worse? The spirits are thickest around the shrine, guarding it like I said. We'll be cutting through their strongest line, and we're already spent. Wonderful, that's wonderful. But complaining won't move a single one of them out of our way, so I make my voice steady and reach for something practical. How long until dawn? He glances up at the blood moon, reading it. Most of the night's still ahead of us. The moon's only just shifted off its peak. We crossed midnight not long ago, hours yet before first light. Long enough to do this properly, then. I tip my head back against the stone and stare up at the sickly red light. Or long enough to wear us all the way down before we get there, whichever comes first. He lets that stand without arguing it, which is its own kind of answer. My arms have gone to lead, and my shoulders throb from the weight of the swords. Whatever carried me through the last hour is running out of me, draining off into the cold stone, and we are nowhere near done. I hum The Shepherd's Daughter again, low, letting the old melody hold me steady. The song is older than this war between humans and orcs, a tavern tune that crosses the border like it was never there. My mother used to sing it while she worked, her voice clear and true where mine only ever wobbles. You're humming, Rune says. It isn't only a way to cope, is it? I glance over, caught off guard. What do you mean? You hum when you're frightened, but you also do it over your work, in your thinking, anytime you need to settle yourself. He watches me with those sharp amber eyes. It's armor, and it's something more than armor, a line back to someone. The insight goes deeper than I'm braced for, seeing clean past my defenses. My mother, she hummed while she worked. She taught me the songs before I could even talk. She sounds like she mattered. She did. The words snag on the way out. That song was hers first. It's the last of her I still get to carry around. I press a hand flat to the warm stone, to the carving I can almost read. She'd have known what these words said straight off. I'm only picking my way through them for the both of us. Rune inclines his head, and we're the two it's waiting on. The thought should frighten me, and it does a little. More than anything, it steadies me, like the song does, like his shoulder near mine does. Then we'd better not screw it up, I say. No pressure, he echoes, and there's the smile again. We rest in a companionable quiet, both of us gathering what strength we can find while the shrine looms in the distance, promise and threat in equal measure. After a while, my arms stop screaming. They ease into a dull ache I can work around, and the bandage on Rune's forearm holds firm with no fresh blood seeping through, which means my fieldwork was good enough to get us moving even if it's a long way from finished. We're battered and emptied out, running on fumes and stubbornness, but we're still breathing, and tonight that has to be enough. We should move soon. Rune pushes himself upright and tests the injured arm with careful, deliberate movements. Every minute we wait is a minute we give them to organize. Or a minute we give ourselves to recover, I counter, though I'm already on my feet because he's right and we both know it. I close my hand around my lucky stone one last time, feel its familiar weight, then tuck it deep in my pocket where it can't fall loose. No charm carries us across that ground. My own legs do, and his axes beside mine, and the two of us refusing to put a blade down. Ready? Rune sets himself at the edge of our shelter, axes up, his whole body coiled to move. No, I admit, but let's go anyway. His laugh is short and surprised, startled out of him. Fair enough. We move together, leaving the arch's protection and plunging back into the chaos of shadow and ancient rage. The spirits surge the moment we cross the threshold, hungry and relentless. Behind them, the crown thing laughs that same low, rolling laugh. Its void of a face turns to follow us as we run, as if it has been waiting all this while for exactly this. But we're ready for them. Rune's voice guides me, calling the threats I can't see and trusting me to take what he can't reach. I cover his blind side while he covers mine. The partnership flows seamless and sure. We keep each other on our feet moment by moment. Above us, the blood moon pulses and marks the time we don't have. Two people against an army of the vengeful dead, doing the thing both our parents died swearing could be done. His axe takes the spirit I miss. My blade takes the one bearing down on him. We don't break stride. The thought carries me forward through exhaustion and fear. The shrine is still a long way off, somewhere past the worst concentration of spirits on these grounds, and every lane we try toward it folds shut, while the easy ground opens the wrong way. A spirit catches my blind side, but Rune is there before I can react and his frame blocks the blow that would have gutted me. He takes it on his already injured arm and grunts. He doesn't slow. He keeps moving, keeps fighting, keeps putting himself between me and the dark. He's going to get himself killed covering me if I don't tighten my spacing. The thought ought to annoy me. Instead it pulls tight in my throat. Partnership. Trust. Something more than survival, deeper than a truce that ends at dawn. I'll figure it out later, after everyone's safe. We push deeper into the dark with everything we have left, away from the arch and the old magic that held them off, cutting for any line that bends back toward those far pillars. My arms scream and my lungs burn, but I push through. Stopping means dying, and I refuse to die here. I refuse to let anyone trapped on these grounds die because we lost our nerve in the worst hour of the night. The spirits press closer, sensing how spent we are, hungry for the kill. And behind them that low rolling laugh keeps station with us, holding its distance, neither gaining nor losing ground. Rune's shoulder finds mine in the crush. He breathes a count under his breath, 3, 2, 1, and we turn into the next wave with our blades up.
The crown thing is laughing behind us, and it is keeping pace. We broke from the arch at a dead run, and the dead came after, and somewhere in the press behind the lesser spirits that low rolling laugh stays with us. Never closer, never falling back. I have hunted enough to mistrust a thing that paces itself to its prey. An animal rushes or it loses interest. This one has chosen a distance and holds to it. I have done the same myself, trailing quarry I meant to take, waiting on the ground to turn in my favor. It's keeping with us. I pitch it low for Nell alone between blade falls, not rushing, matching our pace. That's worse than chasing, isn't it? She doesn't make it a question. She drives Buttercup through a spirit that lunges for the gap between us and is already turning before it comes apart. Much worse. We cut into the lee of a collapsed grain stall and put our backs to the stone for the space of a few breaths. My left arm has gone tight and hot under the binding she tied at the arch. The cloth is stiff with dried blood and wet again at the edge, but the knot holds in the fingers still close, and that is all I need from the arm tonight. I flex them once to be sure. Pain climbs the inside of the arm, and I let it pass through and out. Nell's glance drops to it, still holding. It holds. Don't be a hero about it. She cinches the loose edge of the binding tight with one quick hand, not slowing, not unwrapping the work she already did, her eyes on the gap we came through the whole time. It opens again, we deal with it at the shrine in light with clean thread, not out here. Orc blood clots fast, I say it on reflex. I have said it to every healer who ever fussed at me. I noticed, lucky for you, since I'm not stitching you in the dark with a crowned ghost counting our breaths. She flashes me a grin that has no business existing in the middle of all this, so hold the arm together and let's not give it the chance. The spirits find us again and the grin is gone and her swords are up. We break the other way, north, away from the thickest of them, because the crown one has done something I have only just understood. It is hurting them every time we cut toward the shrine. The dead thicken on that line, fold in from the flanks, press us off it. Every time we give ground, the way opens easy in the wrong direction. A scout learns to feel a hand on the terrain even when he cannot see it. There is a hand on this terrain, and it wears a rusted crown. It's pushing us. I read the wrecked stalls, the toppled beams, the lanes the dead leave open and the ones they close. Off the shrine line, every gap it gives us bends away from where we want to be. Then it knows where we want to be. Nell ducks under a shadow blade and comes up clean. It knows about the shrine. And it's steering us off it, cold certainty, the kind that arrives in a scout before he can argue himself out of it, which means it's smarter than anything else out here tonight. She trusts the call without making me prove it. That is the thing I keep catching on, in the half-breath between one threat and the next. She moves where I tell her to move, takes the side I leave to her, follows a line I read off the dark, and never once makes me earn it first. My brother would have made me earn it. My brother has made me earn it for 3 years. You don't second-guess me. The words come out rougher than I mean them to between calls, while we put another fallen beam between us and the press. You should, you don't know me. For all you know, my reeds are worthless. Your reeds have kept us both breathing since the wards broke. She says it flat, no giving it anywhere. Why would I argue with that? Because the orc telling you where to step got a war party armed and bearing down on a clutch of refugees 3 years ago. It is out before I can cage it, and once it is out, I cannot stop the rest. Families, children too young to walk, elders who couldn't have lifted a blade if they'd tried. I saw movement at dusk on my first solo posting, read it as a human raiding line, and ran back to raise the alarm instead of confirming. My brother led the whole clan out on my word. Her blade finds a spirit's throat. She doesn't look at me, but I feel the whole of her attention bend toward the words. Even so, what happened to them? They scattered, screaming when they saw us come down in war formation. Parents throwing themselves over their children, begging mercy in the broken orcish they'd picked up from traders. My free hand has closed hard around the hilt at my hip without my telling it to, knuckles tight. It always finds the hilt when the shame gets its hand on me. The clan let them go, sent scouts to see them safe to a human settlement, spared them supplies for the road. The harm was done. I all but started a war because I couldn't tell a threat from people who needed help, and my clan does not forget that kind of thing. So your brother runs the real scouting now. Quiet, no cruelty in it, only the shape of the thing named plainly. And you watch the perimeter and second-guess your own eyes even when they're right, the youngling who cried wolf. The accuracy of it cuts deeper than any blade has tonight. I failed. In my clan that does not wash out, trust is everything when lives ride on your word. You made one bad call when you were 19. There is steel under the gentleness, enough to make me listen instead of deflect. That only gets to be your whole story if you decide to let it. It should be. Bad healing kills people too. She says it as we break across an open lane, low and fast, blades clearing our path. My first patient was a feverish child. I gave him too much for his size and he stopped breathing, and his mother had to bring him back while I stood there frozen, certain I'd killed someone I was meant to save. He lived. My mother talked me through fixing it and then made me practice until I could weigh a dose half asleep. A spirit comes apart under Daisy and she's already past it. If I'd spent every day after that braced to fail again, I'd never have helped a single soul. I'd have been useless the moment anyone needed me most. She's quiet for a step, then lower under the noise of the dead. I held a dying orc's hand once, 5 years ago. He put himself between a downed human and the blade meant to finish him, took the beating for it, never raised a hand to stop it, told me it wasn't anyone's fault, just boys, the both of them, he said. Then he was gone, his hand still in mine. Another spirit clears off her swords and she doesn't look at it. He'd have liked you, I think. So I'm not about to write you off for one bad call you made at 19. I have no answer that the night leaves room for. We hit the next pocket of cover together, a toppled cart on its side, and for the length of a breath the dead lose our line. You think I'm reckless, I say it flat, no lift at the end. We both know the shape of the answer. Impulsive, the scout who can't be trusted with anything that matters. I think you're careful, her answer turns the ground under me. I've watched you fight all night and you read the field before you ever commit to it. You adapt faster than anyone I've trained beside. And 3 times now you've put your own body between me and a blade. That's craft, rune, 3 years of learning to be careful, whatever your brother calls it. No one has ever said that to me. My brother still treats me as the boy who cried wolf. The other scouts hand me the simplest postings and watch to be sure I don't ruin them. Even the elders nod when I speak and never quite meet my eyes, waiting on me to prove their low expectations right. She watched me all night, she sees something else and she believes it, and the belief does dangerous things to whatever discipline I have left. She's close in the dark behind the cart, her head tilted back, the wilted flowers in her braid giving off something faint and floral under the sweat and the grave stink. I am thinking about how little it would take to lean down and close the distance, and that is exactly when the laugh rolls in again, low and wrong, close. It is not a spirit's shriek, the others scream. This one laughs the same way it laughed behind the arch under that rusted crown, and the sound is nearer now than it was then. I get a hand to Nell's shoulder and turn us both toward the gap at the end of the cart. It is there, the crown one looms over everything we have cut down tonight, the spectral crown gone to rust above a hollow of pure hate where a face should be. It is not circling like the others. It is watching the two of us and only us, with a patience that has nothing animal left in it. It found us again, Nell breathes. It never lost us. I keep my voice flat while the skin along my spine draws tight. It's been hurting us this whole time. The others hunt anything alive. This one wants us. The crown spirit lifts one shadow hand. Every spirit scattered across the festival ground turns at once and swings toward the cart, every one of them dragged the same way in the same breath. It's telling them where we are. I work my tongue against the back of my teeth and find no spit there. We don't stay anywhere it can point. Where then? Nell already has her blades up. I read the ground in a single sweep. The collapsed stalls, the fallen beams, the lanes between, and the one narrow line that the crown thing cannot widen no matter how it pushes. North, the old weapon merchants' row. Stone walls close enough it can only feed them through two at a time. Go, I'm on your back. We break from cover together and the night closes on us. The crown one does not chase. It glides, unhurried, and ahead of it the spirits it called fold in from both flanks to cut our line to the row. Then the dark in front of us opens. A lane clears toward the shrine, straight and wide and easy, the spirits peeling off it like a curtain drawn aside. It is the way we have wanted to go all night, laid out clean, 50 strides of open ground pointed at the carved pillars in the distance. Every screaming muscle in me wants to take it. I do not take it. A lane that opens itself is a lane somebody opened. I follow the walls it runs between, the toppled stalls stacked too neat on either side, the ground pinching narrow at the far end where I cannot see past the wreck of a collapsed awning. A kill box, drive the prey down an easy throat and close it at the gut. I have set that exact snare for deer on the eastern slopes through 3 winters of lean hunting. Not that way. I catch Nell's arm before she can commit to the open ground. It wants us down there. That's not a gift, it's a funnel. Dead end with a mouth full of teeth at the far side of it. She doesn't argue, she doesn't slow to ask how I know. She changes her line on my word, hard left, back toward the narrow stone of the weapon row, no question on her face, her body already committing to a read she has no way to check, and something in me goes tight and warm under the ribs even as we run. An hour ago I'd have second-guessed that red until it was too late to use. Tonight I called it clean and she moved on it, and the part of me that has spent 3 years braced to be wrong has nothing left to say. The crown one's laugh climbs a notch behind us, almost a thing of pleasure, as though it enjoys being read as much as it enjoyed the hunting. The lane it built falls in on itself, the spirits flooding back across it, and they come at us in earnest now from the side we turn to. It has stopped hurting, it has started closing. Nell takes the right and I take the left, and we move like we have fought side by side for years instead of hours, her trusting my calls and me trusting her blades, the dead bursting into foul smoke that reeks of turned earth and rusted iron. But the crown one keeps the others between us and the choke point, peeling our cover away faster than we can buy it back, and twice the press splits us a body's width apart, and twice I read my way back to her shoulder before the gap can cost us. Now, for the first time all night, I feel the whole of it working against us with a mind set behind it, and the mind is learning. Beam ahead, drop and roll under, I call, and Nell drops without breaking stride and comes up clean on the far side, and I follow. We are 3 strides from the weapon row when the crown's spirit moves for the first time with real speed. It comes for Nell, not me. It moves faster than its size should allow, the rusted crown low, its dark sticky blade already swinging for the side of her neck. She is mid-turn, her back half to it, and I see in one frozen breath that she will not get a blade up in time. I do not count the distance because I am already there. I take the cut across my bound left forearm, throwing the limb up to catch the blade meant for her throat. The shadow steel drags over the binding and pain whites out the whole left side of my body, but the cloth holds and the arm holds and Nell's head is still on her shoulders. The crowned one wrenches back. For one impossible moment the hollow of its face tips toward me, and it laughs again, pleased, as though I have shown it something it wanted to see. Then Daisy comes up through where its arm would be and it scatters into smoke, only smoke, the same as every lesser one we have cut tonight. But the laugh hangs in the air after the shape is gone, fading slow, and I know with a scout's certainty that it has only stepped back. It has not died. It went for me on purpose. Nell hauls me by my good arm toward the choke point, panting. Waited for my blind side. That wasn't an animal rune, that was a hunter picking its moment. I know we make the gap and put the narrow stone walls at our backs. The lesser spirits stack up at the mouth of the row, unable to come more than two abreast, and for the first time in long minutes I can pull a full breath. It's smarter than the rest, and it's running them like a war leader runs a line. How long do we have? She stares up through the gap at the blood moon, which has begun its slide down off its peak toward the western dark. Real answer, how long until dawn? I make the count properly this time. The moons drop against the western ridge, the red starting to thin at its lower edge. The numbers come up and I want to recount them, and I already know I would only get the same. The night holds 8 hours from the peak to the light, and we have burned through better than 2 of them already, just getting this far. Less than 6 hours of dark left, I tell her, and we're not halfway to the shrine, and every hour the moon falls, that thing learns more about how we move. Her jaw sets, then we stop letting it watch. There's no arch here to keep the dead out, no pocket of old magic to lean against. Only 2 stone walls and a crown thing on the far side taking our measure, and the choke point between us that buys us the time to think. I bind the arm tighter with my free hand and my teeth, and Nell does not waste breath telling me to be careful. She has stopped treating me like something that might break. This row feeds them 2 at a time the whole length of it, I say, reading the walls, the far mouth, the ground beyond. We cut through, we come out behind the old grain stalls, and we've got a straight run at the shrine with cover most of the way. It's the fastest line left, and the moon won't wait on a safer one. Then we take the fast one. She rolls her shoulders, settles her grip on Buttercup and Daisy, and gives me a tired ghost of her grin. After you scout, I'll watch your back like you keep watching mine. We turn together into the mouth of the row, blades up. The dead wait 2 abreast. Behind them, threaded thin and patient through the dark, the crowned spirit is still laughing.
We made it through the row. The cold of the ruins reaches us before the silence does. Rune slides down the wall beside me, close enough that our shoulders touch, and his warmth bleeds through my sleeve. We almost died tonight. We might die again before the night is over. Somehow neither thought lands as terror. It lands as clarity instead. In the blood moon's red light, his jaw is a strong, brutal line, and the shadows clinging to his tusks make them look sharp and dangerous. I watch the pulse beating in his throat. Its frantic rhythm matches my own. I let myself believe that being alive right now has to matter for something. We're going to make it, I say, low and cert. We'll reach the shrine and fix the ritual. Maybe. His voice is rough from shouting tactical calls, a low gravel that vibrates through me. But the spirits could still breach these walls, and we still have to figure out the ritual, and dawn is coming whether we're ready or not. So you're saying there's a chance. I try for levity, but it comes out breathless and thin. His mouth tips, though the warmth doesn't reach his eyes. Your optimism is going to get us both killed. Or it'll keep us alive long enough to matter. My thumb finds the lucky stone through the cloth of my pocket, its edges worn smooth from years of anxious rubbing. I'm choosing to believe the second one. We fought spirits and scraped out alive. The mission might still fail, and we're running on borrowed time. None of that changes what I want to ask. What happens after? After we fix this and save everyone, what then? Rune turns to look at me, his gaze heavy. I don't know. I do. The words come out bold and reckless, pushed loose by the adrenaline. I know what I want to happen. He searches my face. Nell. We almost died tonight more than once. I shift to face him, our knees brushing, and the contact sends a jolt through me. We might die in the first hour after we leave this shelter. I reach for his hand and lace my smaller fingers through his larger, calloused ones. I don't want to waste the time we have left. His grip tightens around mine in silent acknowledgement. What are you saying? I'm saying I want you. The confession comes out raw and honest, stripped bare by how close we are to dying. This, us, I need to feel something real and solid and alive before we face whatever comes next. Rune goes still, his whole frame locking up. The mission. The mission can wait an hour. I lean closer, drawn by a force I can't name and don't want to fight. We're safe here, and I need to feel alive instead of just surviving, and I need to know this is real. You and me. He says it deep and quiet, and there's something careful underneath it, like he's holding the words up to the light. You and me. I hold his gaze and refuse to look away. What's been building since you caught me in that first spirit attack? Don't tell me you haven't felt it. I've felt it. His free hand comes up to cup my face, and his thumb strokes across my cheekbone, rough and gentle all at once. But the timing. The timing is terrible. I lean into his touch and let my eyes flutter shut. I don't care. Do you want me, Rune? The question hangs between us, blunt and honest and stripped of all pretense. His eyes go dark, the amber heating to coal bright. I want you. Then stop talking. I close the distance and kiss him. He makes a rough sound in the back of his throat, a guttural noise of surrender, and kisses me back harder. The tusk on the left brushes my cheekbone, light and deliberate, like he's been thinking about the angle for hours. I tilt my head a fraction to give him the room. His hand slides from my face into my hair and fists there, tilting my head back, while his other arm wraps my waist and hauls me against him. I taste sweat and spirit residue, primal and dark, and my belly goes warm and stupid. I pull back just far enough to breathe, my lips tingling, and I make sure he's looking at me when I say it. I want you to know I'm choosing this with both eyes open. You and me, right here. That's a thing I'm picking on purpose. I know. He kisses my jaw. The tusks come light against my skin, and his mouth drags down the line of my throat. But if we do this, I need you to tell me if it's too much, if I hurt you. You won't. I tug at his shirt, my fingers fumbling with the fastenings. But you should understand something. You're big, everywhere, and this is going to require some care. He freezes, then a laugh rumbles against my neck, surprised and genuine. Of all the sounds tonight, this is the one that lands. Care, he echoes, pulling back to look at me, and warmth floods his eyes. Well, yeah. I get his shirt open and push it off his broad shoulders. I'm a healer, so anatomy is something I know, and yours is. My voice trails off as I see him bare-chested for the first time. God's above and below. He is the size of a wall, and he is looking at me like he is afraid of what the size of him will mean. The sight makes my mouth go dry, and my body pulls tight in answer. You're staring, he says, with a note of uncertainty in his deep voice. You're beautiful, I breathe, reaching out so my palms press flat against the heat of his chest. His skin is fever-hot, his heart hammering against my hands. And huge, of course you are. The size of you is going to be a project. His hands slide to my waist, his large fingers spanning the entire width. We can stop. Don't you dare. I pull my shirt over my head and drop it beside his. This is what I want. I want this, but you're going to need to prepare me a lot. His eyes go dark and heavy-lidded, tracking over my body with a heated focus that makes me shiver. I can do that. Good, I reach for his belt. Because if this kills me, at least I'll die happy. He groans and captures my mouth in a kiss that steals my breath and my reason. His hands are everywhere, learning the shape of me, mapping the curve of my hip and the dip of my waist while I arch into him with a silent plea for more. Then he lifts me like I weigh nothing, and I wrap my legs around his hips without thinking and press myself against him. There is no possible way that is going to fit, and yet I am more than willing to be proven wrong. He carries me to a flat section of the ruins and lays me down on stone that bites cold against my bare back. Then he is above me. His frame blocks the red moon, the crumbling walls, everything but his amber eyes. I see only those eyes and what they want from me. And then he takes care of me the way he promised, slow and certain and reverent, every careful inch of him a choice not to be the danger he could be, until there is nothing left of the careful orc and the tactical voice, only the two of us and the red moon and the wordless thing we are making between us. He gives me everything and I take all of him, and when it finally crests it takes the whole broken world with it, his name the only thing left in my mouth. His arm comes around me, holding me close while our heartbeats climb down towards something like ordinary. For a long moment neither of us speaks. We just breathe together, skin to skin, his heartbeat slowing under my ear in the red moonlight while what we just did sinks all the way in. Then I hum my mother's old tune without thinking. a quiet, contented sound that replaces the desperate need from before. "You're humming," his voice rumbles through his chest into my back. "I like it." "Good." I lace my fingers through his where they rest on my stomach, warm and boneless against him, and not caring about anything in the slightest. Because I'm not stopping. "Don't," he kisses the back of my neck, his lips gentle now. "I like the song." My throat tightens around something I'm not ready to name. "That was." "Yeah," he pulls me closer, surrounding me with the smell of him. "It was." A moment passes, warm and still, until the howls of the spirits outside reach us through the stone, muffled but still hungry. Rune's muscles tense beneath me. "We have to move. The shrine, we're running out of time." "I know, but I don't shift yet, and neither does he." He cups the back of my head and kisses me again, slow this time, with no hunger in it, just confirmation. His tusk grazes my cheekbone, and my body knows the angle now and tilts a fraction without my asking. When he pulls back, his forehead rests against mine for one long breath. "The world hasn't ended yet," he says against my mouth. "No, and we have to keep it that way." We dress in silence, our movements efficient and practiced, pulling shirts on and fastening belts. My body is sore and tender, a reminder of what we chose. When I meet his eyes, the connection is still there, low and steady. It's a banked coal we both know how to find now. "Final push to the shrine," Rune says, his voice all business once more, though his eyes are different when they land on me now. "Straight shot if we hurry and don't hesitate. You ready for this?" "Born ready, Scout." I grip my swords, testing the weight and balance one more time. "Let's finish this and save everyone, both our peoples." We move into the last stretch together, leaving the shelter behind. Rune's axes carve through shadow, while my blades find gaps in ancient armor that shouldn't exist. When he stumbles from blood loss, I steady him without breaking rhythm. A spirit lunges in from where I can't see, and he's already there, his frame between me and the threat before I've even turned. By now it's instinct, not decision. He doesn't move like a man following orders anymore. He moves like he'd put himself in the ground before he let anything reach me. We break through the last line of spirits and cross onto sacred ground. Our boots hit the shrine's boundary, where ancient magic still holds against the curse, and the moment we're inside the protected area, the spirits pull back with frustrated shrieks. They can't reach us here. Some old power still clings to these stones, older than either of our peoples. Both of us collapse against the altar. We made it. Against all odds and expectations, we survived. I hum that shepherd's tune while trying to catch my breath, the melody shaking but determined, like the rest of me has been all night. My lucky stone is warm in my hand from being clutched tight through the fighting, its edges leaving red marks on my palm. "You're humming," Rune says, like he hadn't meant to. "I don't mind it anymore. Haven't minded it since the wound care, if I'm being truthful." I look at him, caught off guard. "You mean it. Most people find it annoying and tell me to shut up, or at least to hum on key. Most people are idiots who wouldn't recognize courage if it sang them a lullaby." The words come out fierce and certain, and the intensity of them surprises me. It's brave, choosing to sing when everything's falling apart around you. That takes more courage than swinging a sword or watching a tree line, and it takes a strength I'm not sure I possess. I feel my face give, the smile going small and real. "You think that?" "I do, and he means it." We're staring at each other again. He's close enough now. I can see the exhaustion in his eyes. The color rises in my cheeks. My smile goes gentle instead of bright and armored. His hand lifts an inch off his knee toward my face, then stalls there, fingers half-curled, as if he hasn't decided whether he's allowed. He says nothing. The reaching is the closest he gets. He makes me want to be worthy, want to be the scout he thinks I am. The feeling is terrifying and exhilarating at once. I have no idea what to do with it. I have no idea how to hold something this fragile without breaking it. "We should set the seal," I say, breaking eye contact first, looking away with the color still high in my cheeks. "Before dawn comes and we run out of time." "Right, the ritual, that's why we're here." He tries to focus on the altar instead of my mouth. His gaze takes in the scattered remains of whatever ceremony failed when the blood moon peaked and the ancient magic went wrong. "We fix this, and we save everyone trapped inside the curse." "Both our peoples." My voice goes softer, almost hopeful despite everything we've been through. Human and orc together, working toward the same goal. Like the old ones meant it to be. He weighs the thought. Maybe our peoples could find common ground too if we stopped assuming the worst about each other. I smile at him then, bright and genuine, and full of the optimism that first made him think I was naive. But I know better now. I've watched him weigh every threat between here and dawn and say the worst of it out loud and reach for the better outcome anyway. I want to learn how he does that without flinching. Same dialect as the arch, I say, pushing myself away from the altar base and running my hands over the carved symbols. The text is older than common and not as old as the runic my mother taught me, and the shapes line up with what we already read tonight. Rune joins me. His larger hands trace the deep grooves in the stone, where the carvings show figures, human and orc, fighting back to back, just as we had. Blood to bind, he murmurs, finding the lines we expected. Will and blood mixed as one, from enemies turned allies. And then the spoken word to set it for good. I look up at him, my eyes wide and serious. We knew the shape walking in, now we give it the blood. We stare at each other. We already gave each other the truer version of this, back in the ruins, with no altar watching. But the stone wants something more, a conscious, magical choice. The ritual demands it, he says, his voice rough, and beyond the shrines, edge the spirits are still shrieking against the light. Dawn is coming whether we're ready for it or not. It's the only way, I whisper. It has to be us. I pull the small, sharp knife from my boot. He bares his axe, testing the edge with his thumb. We stand on opposite sides of the altar, just as our peoples stood on opposite sides of the festival. Ready? I ask, my voice steady. He nods. We cut our palms. I wince as I draw the blade across my left palm. My blood wells up, impossibly red against my pale skin. He does the same, his own cut deeper and his blood darker in the moonlight. I place my bleeding left hand flat on the altar stone, and he sets his on top of mine without speaking. The only sound is our breath and the wind moving through the broken arches above us. Our blood mixes, red and dark green, seeping into the ancient stone. The moment our skin touches, magic surges. It's nothing like the spirits. This power is clean and bright, surging up my arm and into my chest, meeting an identical power surging from Rune. For a heartbeat, I am him and he is me. I feel his doubt and his shame, and the protective loyalty under both. He feels my humming and my hope, and the stubborn belief that holds them together. The altar flares with a column of pure silver light that punches a hole in the night and soars into the red-tinged sky. All around the shrine, the spirits shriek and pull back, their forms wavering but not dissolving. The silver light cracks outward across the festival grounds, a clean shock running through stone and ward and night together. The old, heavy rage eases, though it isn't gone. It's only held at bay. The wards are patched, but the light over the dome is still flickering. It worked more or less, I pant, my voice wrecked. It bought us time, but the spirits aren't gone. He looks at our joined hands, then back at the carvings. There's the formula. His finger traces a new line of text just below where we bled. We knew the word half was coming. We didn't know what shape it had to take. Show me, I say. His finger moves lower, tracing the final symbols. It's a formal declaration. The offerers must speak their names and their clan and the oath of alliance, sealing with their word the blood already given to finalize the bond. Names and clan and oath. My stomach drops, and the cold of the stone climbs up through my knees into my chest. We knew there'd be words. We didn't know which words. Then we say it now. I plant my bleeding hand back on the stone and reach for his. I don't wait. The wards are flickering, the shadows crowd thicker at the edge of the light, and no breath of safety is coming. I open my mouth on the first word of it. Knell of Riversideville. The stone itself bellows from the darkness, and the word is ripped out of my mouth before I can finish my own name.
The voices reach us while the dark is still thick, long before any line of light has touched the eastern ridge. Nell, where are you? A human captain's bellow cuts through the thinning black, rough with worry and exhaustion. Rune, my brother's voice follows, deeper, carrying the weight of command that straightens my spine on instinct. Answer if you can hear me. Whatever heat our claiming left in me goes out all at once, and the morning air finds my skin cold. Nell stirs against me, tucked into the place where we collapsed after the ritual. Her hair still carries the scent of wildflowers and crushed herbs from the night. For one heartbeat, I want nothing but to stay here, hidden in this alcove where neither of our peoples can reach us. Then my brother calls again, and the rest of the world comes back down on top of us. They're close, Nell says, pushing herself upright and reaching for her swords with the easy automatic motion of someone who has never once woken without trouble waiting. Both sides at once. I sit up and every muscle I own protests it. My body is wrecked from fighting spirits and claiming my mate and pouring everything I had into the seal. The cut on my palm throbs where our blood mixed over the altar, already scabbing under whatever magic we woke. She is my mate now, claimed with intent and witnessed by the old powers. Every orc here will smell it the moment they're close. I should be bracing for my brother's face instead. Nell starts to say we need to decide what we tell them, but the human voices roll over the orc ones, both search parties closing from opposite sides of the grounds. There I see the shrine. An orc scout I half recognize calls out, his young voice cracking with relief. Captain, this way, there's been recent fighting here. A human guard answers from the far dark. We have a handful of breaths before the two groups fold in on this spot from either side. Nell meets my eyes, her gaze moving over my face. What do we tell them? My body knows only one answer. I claimed her, and by everything my people call sacred, she is mine now. I would stand between her and my own brother before I let anyone pull her away from me. What I say instead is the safe thing, the truth. We survived the night. We reached the shrine and finished the ritual together. Together, she holds my eyes a moment longer, then nods once. All right, that's the line we hold. But she is already drifting away from me, opening a gap as boots ring on the stone. She is building the kind of distance that will look right to anyone watching, not the distance of two people who spent the whole night tangled together while old magic burned through their blood. My brother comes through first, rounding the carved pillars with 3 other scouts at his back. Kravik is bigger than I am and broader through the chest. He carries the certainty of someone who has never failed a mission that mattered. His dark green skin is marked with the honor scars I haven't earned, and his braids are heavy with tokens of clan respect. He sees me, and the relief on his face sets into something harder. Rune, the word comes down like a verdict. His gaze travels over me. He takes inventory of the cuts and the exhaustion and the thing he can smell on me. It's the thing I did with the human woman standing 10 paces off. You abandoned your post. The spirits came through before I could. They attacked your position, we know that already. He moves in closer, sliding between me and the human party still gathering at the edge of the light, a move that shields me and writes me off in the same step. We tried to reach you when the sky first started to gray, and we couldn't. The spirits were thickest around the shrine, and they didn't thin enough to push a search party through until just now. The moment they gave us a gap, we came. They couldn't have come sooner, not one of them. The fact should comfort me. Instead, it only makes plainer how alone we were out here. Nell and I held the night by ourselves. Both our peoples waited for the dark to make room for them. The human party reaches us a moment later, led by a captain with hard eyes and a harder mouth. Marek, he commanded Nell's guard detail before any of this came apart. Nell, his voice is winter, step away from the orc. A sound starts low in my throat before I know I am making it, quiet, a warning my body gives before my mind has caught up to why. Marek's hand drifts toward his sword grip. Kravik's hand closes on my forearm, fingers sinking into the muscle, the grip tight enough to feel through the bone beneath. He says nothing. He doesn't need to. The clan sign for stand down is older than any spoken word. So I stand down, my body got half a step out before he caught it, and I let him hold me there. Crossing now means Marek draws steel. Crossing now turns every guard around her into a wall I'd have to break through to reach her. Once the seal is finished, her people will let down their guard, then I can come for her. Her captain won't have to choose between his orders and her life, so I bank it. I bank all of it for her. His name is Rune. Nell's voice cuts in before I can swallow the growl still working in my throat. Use it, Captain. Now, Marek says and gestures, and 2 guards step in to plant themselves between Nell and me, building a barrier of bodies that lifts the hair on my arms. We'll debrief you once you're clear of any threats. He's not a threat, her voice goes sharp and protective. He kept me alive all night. We reached the shrine together. Which is the only reason you're alive, to be debriefed. Marek's tone doesn't give an inch. Protocol exists for a reason, soldier. More so after a night of unsupervised contact with enemy forces. Enemy forces. To Marek, I am still the danger she has to be saved from. I am not the male who claimed her. I am not the one who would tear apart anything that came at her wrong. The words land badly and anger rises hot under my skin. Nell flinches at them but doesn't argue, and that stings worse than anything Merrick can say. Rune, Kravik pulls my attention back to him. Report, what happened after the spirits surged? I make myself focus and give him the tactical account he is waiting for. The festival wards failed at the Blood Moon's peak. The spirits came through in force. Nell and I were cut off from our groups in the first wave. And you made for the shrine. It isn't a question. Kravik studies the carved altar behind me with a scout's sharp eye. Did you reach it in time to finish the ritual? I start to answer and lose the thread because the human guards have already drawn her further off, ringing her in a formation that fenced her off from me. She's trying to see past them, trying to catch my eye, while Merrick steers her toward the human side of the shrine. Focus, Kravik snaps his fingers in front of my face. The ritual, did you finish it? It demanded a blood offering. I open my palm and show him the cut, still dark under the dried blood, from both of us, mixed together over the altar to seal the wards. His face empties. Tell me whose blood went first. The ritual called for enemies turned allies. I keep my voice level, though I can feel his disappointment crossing the small space between us like heat off a forge. We gave it what it asked for. He lets that sit, weighing it like a bad report from a green scout, and that asking required your blood mixed with hers. I know the real thing he's circling. I know what shared blood means among us. It binds mating bonds and clan oaths into ties no one breaks without paying for it. He can already smell what I have done, because claiming changes the whole way a male carries himself. The ritual required what it required. The wards are sealed. The spirits are held back. Everyone inside these grounds lived through the night. At what cost? His voice drops low, meant for me alone. Rune, tell me you didn't. The wards are sealed. I say it again harder. The mission is done. Everyone survived. He goes very still, the stillness that comes before either violence or words that wound. You claimed her. There is no question in it, and no mercy either. I don't answer. Anything I say only makes it worse and confirms what he already knew. Every orc in this party knew it the moment they got close enough to scent me. Stone and steel, Kravik turns half away, dragging a hand down his face. You claimed a human, in the middle of a survival fight, with no clan approval and no proper courtship and no thought past what you wanted in the moment. It wasn't like that. The words come out too fast and too defensive. The ritual needed blood, he says, rounding back on me. It needed blood. It did not need claiming. You could have given the offering without binding yourself to her for the rest of your life. Could I have? The whole night is knotted up in magic and desperation. Underneath it all sits the weight of feeling her choose me. Every reason in the world told her not to, and she did it anyway. I don't know where the ritual ended and the claiming began. I'm not sure the two could have been pulled apart, even if we'd tried. He is handing me a road back. The clan will swallow battlefield circumstance if I hold my mouth straight and let him frame it. He used the word tribunal already, and that word is meant for her far more than for me. The only thing standing between her and that judgment is whether I match my brother's framing right now, so I take the road for her. She matters to me. The confession scrapes its way out rough and honest, more than proving anything to the clan, more than. Your duty, his voice turns to honed steel. Does she matter more than the standing you've spent 3 years fighting to win back? Because that is the price, Rune. The moment the clan learns you claimed a human mate, you'll be fortunate to keep your scouts post at all. It lands hard because it is true. I know exactly what the clan will say. I know how they will close ranks when they learn the truth. Their youngest and least trusted scout bound himself to one of the people we have hunted for generations. Another reckless mistake to set beside the first one. I can already hear the disappointment in my brother's voice, the words he hasn't said aloud yet and won't have to. Across the shrine, Nell stands ringed by her own guards. Merrick speaks down at her, his face stern. She answers with her hands in tight, defensive shapes, explaining and justifying. From her own side, she faces the same judgment for spending the night with an orc. Hemmed in by her people, she looks small. I know it is an illusion. Still, the sight of it pulls the air clean out of me. This is not the warrior who fought back-to-back with me through the dark. They have made her shrink, and that wrongness reaches somewhere in me I can't get my hands around. I need to speak with her. I take a step toward the human group, and Kravik plants himself in my path, solid and unmoving. What you need is to focus on damage control. His voice is firm, but it catches once, a hesitation that wasn't there a moment ago. If you go to her now, you make a choice you can never take back. Every orc who watches you cross that ground will be calling you traitor before the sun's even up. Is that a warning, I ask, my voice gone rough, or an order? It's the truth. He grips my forearm and squeezes hard. You bound yourself to her in the dark. The clan will let it stand as battlefield circumstance only if you hold your distance now. Walk back to our side and let the captains finish what remains of the ritual. Live long enough to fight for her later when she isn't fenced in by her own guards. By then you won't be bleeding from a hand the whole war band can smell. I look across the divide to where Marek has Nell locked in formation, and her people. Her captain isn't shielding her from you. He's shielding her from the cost of choosing you. Cross now, and you force him to treat you as exactly the threat that proves everything he already believes. I watch Marek draw Nell further from the shrine. Her guards close tighter around her. They form a wall that seals her in as much as it shuts me out. She looks back once, eyes finding mine across the gap. I should go to her, I should cross this ground and tell both our peoples to their faces that we chose each other. What happened in the dark wasn't compromise, and it wasn't confusion. It was a true alliance, the very thing this whole festival was supposed to forge. But my brother is right about the consequences. He is right about what the clan will say and how they will turn, and he is right about what pursuing this will cost us both. I open and close my hands, an old habit when there is nowhere to put the agitation. The wound across my hand pulls, and the dried blood splits along the line. Captain, one of the other scouts, a young male I don't know well, speaks up from over by the altar. You should look at this. Kravik moves to study the carved stone while I stand caught between going to Nell and staying with my own. The shrine symbols are still lit, silver light pulsing slow along the channels in the rock. There's a blood offering here, recent. The scout traces the patterns with one careful finger, but it isn't finished, the work's only half done. My stomach drops because I know exactly what he is reading. It is the part Nell and I made out in the carvings before either of our peoples arrived. The word as well as the blood, we knew. We never once said it out loud, never spoke it into the air where it could become real. And then far out past the arches where the spirits couldn't cross all night, the laughter starts. It is not the shriek the others make. It comes low and rolling and almost pleased. It is the sound of something tall stepping nearer to a door it has spent 100 years waiting to find open. I turn toward it on instinct, and so does every scout in earshot. Past the silver line, the crowned spirit drifts taller than anything around it, the broken, rust-eaten circlet riding its head. It leans against the boundary where the wards should hold. There the silver light thins and goes gray, like a coal does when the fire under it dies. It's testing the seal. The young scout's voice has lost all its earlier eagerness. The boundary's weak right there, it can feel it. Because the seal is only half made, I say it before I can stop myself. The wards are holding. Marek's voice carries cold across the shrine from the human side where his own people have gone still and watchful. But they're holding like a cracked dam. It's a patch, not a fix, and your scout has the right of it. The crowned one knows it. This won't last out the night, never mind to dawn, not without the last words spoken aloud by both of the ones who bled. No, the ritual worked. I felt the magic pour through us both, felt the wards firm up and the spirits fall back from the channels. It worked because we chose each other, because we held together when everything we are told us we couldn't. Out past the arches, the crowned thing leans into the boundary again. The silver shudders thin under its weight. Its laughter rolls back over the grounds like it has all the time it needs, and we have almost none. So the night's work isn't finished. Kravik's voice is level. Marek takes it up before anyone can argue, his verdict landing flat across the divide. Separate ceremonies, each side speaks its own portion. No more mixing of anyone's blood with anyone's. Kravik nods once. The orc scouts shift into formation without waiting for a second order, and across the stone the human guards are already moving Nell into position. The compromise is decided before any of us has finished drawing breath to argue it. The orc scouts answer the rising tension with their bodies. They shift into defensive lines without thinking. Across the divide, several human guards let their hands settle near their hilts. No one is fraternizing here. Nell's voice shakes but holds its shape. We survived. We fought together because fighting together was the only way to live through the night. We held to mission parameters and we saved every soul trapped inside these wards. You bled with him, Marek doesn't bend. Whatever the shrine wanted, you put your blood with his. That is the part I have to put in writing. I am not compromised. Her voice strips itself down to nothing but plain fact. Captain, the tactical reality is that we lived through an impossible night. If I were compromised, I'd be dead already. I want to cross to her, to stand at her side and tell Marek she is the bravest person I have ever fought beside. But my brother's hand finds my forearm again, heavy and meaning every ounce of its weight. Don't, Kravik's voice is quiet and certain. Making it worse helps neither of you. Her people will say she failed her brief. Our clan will say you abandoned yours. Some choices can't be undone once the sun rises. Nell turns before any of them can lay hands on her. She catches my eye across the gap, a sharp, deliberate look that gives me an order instead of a goodbye. Stay ready. This is a tactical withdrawal, and she's trusting me to read it as one. And I stand here and let it happen because I believe my brother. Stone take me. In this gray hour he even sounds right that some divides run too deep to bridge. Kravik's grip tightens, then end it out loud where Merrick can hear. Tell him the claim was battlefield circumstance and the bond won't hold past this. He has to have it from your own mouth or I can't speak for you with the elders. Across the altar, Nell is watching me. The eyes that yesterday said I see you hold steady on mine, waiting, like she already knows this comes down to whether I choose her or save myself. I get one breath to decide. I'm sorry, Nell, hold this with me, just until the sun comes up. It was the ritual, the words come out flat and foul-tasting. A battlefield bond under duress, nothing more. The claim won't hold past first light. I'm coming back for you, I'll pay whatever it costs, hold this for me. Her face does something small and terrible, and she does not look away from it. She only takes it, as she took it when Merrick called her compromised, absorbing the blow without throwing one back. Merrick steps in close to her, his voice dropping, though it carries far enough across the divide that I catch every word. There, the orc has said it himself. Now you say it plain, soldier, for my report, so I can write down what happened in language a tribunal can read. She could tell the truth instead. I chose him. We chose each other. The words are right there in her, and I watch her shape them at the back of her throat. It was survival. Her voice comes steadier than mine did. Battlefield magic and adrenaline. The mission called for an alliance, so we made one, and that is the whole of it. She does not look at me while she says it. She looks at Merrick, at the captain whose approval she has spent 3 years performing all that bright optimism to earn. We have each thrown a knife across this divide and watched it strike home, and neither one of us moves to pull it back out. But what if he's wrong? What if choosing her is the first brave thing I've done in 3 years? My hands close at my sides. I want to be worth the faith she keeps putting in me, and the wanting fights everything my brother has told me to do. The ritual needs its final acknowledgement, the young scout says again, his voice dragging our attention back to the altar. Both groups present, the words spoken by the two who offered the blood. So we do it the way Merrick already ruled it. Both groups present and kept apart, the least contact the magic will allow. Both move to opposite faces of the altar, carving the ground into human and orc halves. Nell is set at the front of her formation with Merrick's hand on her forearm to hold her in place. I stand beside Kravik. We face the stone like two people about to negotiate, not like two people owning what we chose in the dark hours. She looks at me across the stone. The hurt is plain in her eyes, plain as the thing I am still too much of a coward to admit even inside my own head. I am letting them pull apart everything we built, and my fear of the cost is the only thing keeping me from choosing her. Even now I could cross this space. Tell them all she is mine by orc tradition, that I claimed her with my full intent, that I would fight anyone in either party who tried to take her from me. My brother's disappointment stands beside me like a third body. Merrick's hard judgment carries across the shrine. The crown thing is still laughing past the arches, where the silver runs thin. I open and close my hands, and the gash bites again where the blade opened it. It is the one solid proof of what we shared and offered and became. All of it happened in the hours before our peoples came looking. Kravik begins the formal acknowledgement in the old orc dialect, and the words come out wrong in his mouth because he wasn't here. He didn't fight at her back through impossible odds. He doesn't know how her laugh sounds when she's terrified and refuses to let it show. Merrick answers in human ceremonial language, just as formal and just as wrong. He acknowledges that the ritual is complete. He never once acknowledges what it cost the two of us to reach this altar. Neither of us says the words enemies turned allies that the shrine demanded. Past the boundary, the crowned spirit laughs again, lower this time. It knows the difference between a true seal and a transaction, even if our captains pretend not to. Nell's hands are shaking. I can see it from here, how her fingers grip her weapon belt to still the tremor. She isn't humming. She hasn't hummed a note since the search parties came through the dark. The formal words go on. The acknowledgement rings hollow against the memory of standing at this stone with her. Her blood ran into mine while the old magic burned through us both. The wrong of it is plain and cold and will not leave me. This is not what we fought for, but I stay silent and let our peoples finish the ritual without us. The formal acknowledgement ends. Both groups begin to draw back, opening ground between themselves. The silver light along the channel steadies just enough that the crown thing's laughter fades back toward the tree line. It waits, patient. Kravik turns toward orc territory, Stonefang on me. The other scouts fall in and I move with them. Formation drill is the one thing my body still knows, and it runs without asking my heart for permission. My brother walks 3 strides ahead. Behind us, the human side is already going small in the gray. Halfway to the tree line, my chest pulls so hard I miss a step. It feels like a hook set under my ribs, drawing tighter the further I get from the altar. Not quite pain, but something older than pain, threaded through the place where her blood ran into mine. I press my hand flat to my sternum, and the pull stays exactly where it is. Stone and steel, the bond is still there, and it tightens with every step I take away from her. The pull stays sharp the rest of the walk. Only when I cross into our own trees does it ease into a low, constant ache, the kind a body can learn to move with. The sky behind us still hasn't found its first real light.
The lucky stone in my pocket has gone cold. The human guards form a tight circle around me near the altar, putting distance between our 2 groups. Merrick plants himself closest to the carved stone, studying the ancient symbols with a scowl that deepens by the second. The ceremony should have held through dawn, he mutters, not quite to me. Something's wrong with the wards. My fingers close around the river rock through my pocket. It brings no comfort, just reminds me how many years I've spent collecting false hope, none of it worth a thing when it finally mattered. Across the sacred ground, Rune stands with his scouts, and he isn't looking at me. He hasn't looked at me since we threw words at each other and made it worse. He called what we built a battlefield bond that wouldn't hold past sunrise. I agreed because my pride wouldn't let me fight for us. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they're right about me, about hope getting people killed. Marcus hovers near my elbow, his face caught between worry and disappointment. The other guards keep their distance, talking in low voices that don't quite hide their judgment. I catch the fragments. Knew she'd get too close. Can't trust an orc. Should never have sent her. I keep my chin up and my hands still, but every word lands somewhere I can't cover, and it costs me to hold the smile. We need to talk about last night. Merrick's voice cuts through the spiral. He's looking at me now, his scarred face hard with the kind of anger that comes from fear. Starting with why you abandoned your post to run off with an orc warrior. I didn't abandon, I start, but my voice comes out small and defensive, not the healer who jokes through plague wards and sings while she stitches wounds. Someone smaller than that. Someone uncertain. You were assigned to guard the merchant routes. Instead, you disappeared into cursed ground with an orc. He steps closer, looming in a way he holds back most of the time. Do you understand what that looks like? What it says about your judgment? It says I chose survival over protocol, that I trusted an orc, that I'm exactly what they always thought I was. The words stick in my throat. We fought spirits together, I manage. Sealed the wards, completed the offering, everyone survived because. One of the younger guards, jumpy at the dead massing past the dome, grabs my arm to haul me back behind the line. My body answers before I do. I have his wrist and the nerve point Merrick drilled into every one of us, and he folds to one knee in the dirt before I've decided to move. I let go the instant I feel what I'm doing. He scrambles up, white-faced. I never stop talking. The hands Merrick trained still do exactly what he built them to do. He watches it happen, and I already know it won't count for anything. Because you got lucky. Merrick cuts me off, and his tone is sharp enough to draw blood. And now you're compromised. Your judgment is compromised. See what happens when you trust orcs, when you let your hope override basic sense. His disgust pulls every old fear up to the surface, all the ones I've carried since I was 17, and his face confirms each one. I'm not compromised, but the protest sounds hollow even to me. Aren't you? He gestures at all of me. The wilted flowers are still braided into my hair. The torn leather smells like smoke and orc and things I don't want to name. You came back looking like you've been claimed, acting like that warrior matters more than your duty. How is that not compromised? The other guards shift, uncomfortable but not arguing. Marcus won't meet my eyes. The woman from weapons detail shakes her head. Pity sits plain on her face, and it hurts worse than anger would. They all think I failed, that I proved their worst assumptions correct. I reach for the sarcasm that shields me most days, the dark humor that makes terrible things manageable, but nothing comes. The words die before they reach my tongue, and there's only the hollow silence left. You said this was possible. Merrick steps closer, his voice dropping. You sat in my mess hall for 3 years telling anyone who'd listen that humans and orcs could share a border without bleeding for it. Now your wards are failing, we're hours from another battlefield, and you can't even look me in the eye. That's not fair. My voice cracks before I can steady it. Fairness died on those grounds last night. He laughs once with no humor in it. I trained you. I taught you nerve strikes and formation work and how to read a perimeter. I let you put flowers in your hair and hum on patrol because you were good at the work. I told myself the hope was a tool. You used it to keep merchants calm, then set it aside when it mattered. He gestures at my hair, the wilted petals, the torn leather. I was wrong. The hope was the whole thing, and now we're all going to pay for the difference. I want to argue, but I can't, because he's right about part of it. He gave me room to be who I am. When it counted, I let an orc kiss me on a battlefield. I called it strategy. Prove me wrong? His voice goes low. Right now, the altar takes blood and intent. You said peace was possible. Bleed for it. Fix what your judgment broke. Or say out loud that everything you believed was a child's story you were too proud to put down. My hand finds the lucky stone again and grips it until the edges bite into my palm. The smooth river rock is all I have left now. The acorn cap, the broken arrow tip, and the other tokens of hope I carried for protection are gone. I lost them to the festival grounds. But what if all my hope ever did was keep me from seeing the drop? The wards are failing. Another guard speaks up, pointing at the altar where the silver light is flickering. We need to reinforce the ceremony before the spirits breach again. Merrick's jaw tightens. He looks at me, then at the altar, and calculation replaces some of the anger. The offering requires willing sacrifice, blood and intent. Blood sacrifice from enemies turned allies. The translation from last night echoes in my mind. Both offerings required to seal the bond. Both. Not solo heroics proving worth to people who have already decided I'm naive. Both of us, choosing alliance over enmity. But I can't ask Rune to help me now. I look past the guards, searching for him. He's there, near the orc perimeter, and he's fighting. Not spirits this time. He strains against 3 of his own scouts. Kravik's heavy hand clamps on his shoulder, hauling him back. Rune is shouting something, but the wind tears it apart before it reaches me. His face is twisted toward the human lines, toward me. He wants to come, he's trying to come, and they won't let him. Beyond him, out where the dome is thinning and giving way, the dead are gathering thicker than they were an hour ago. They are not gathering at random. They press toward the shrine in a single hungry tide. At the head of it stands the one I've been trying not to look at all night, taller than the rest. The rusted crown sits crooked on a head made of nothing but hate, and where the other spirits shriek, it laughs. It has laughed at us since the first arch. It hunted us through the dark while we bled our way here. It is laughing now because it can feel what the altar wants. It has decided we will not have it. It leans on the stone. I can't see a hand. I can't see anything I could put a sword through. But I feel the weight of its attention bear down on the altar like a thumb pressing a wound, and the silver light shudders under it. The altar's destabilizing, Merrick warns, his voice tight. Nell, we're out of options. If we don't reinforce this now, the dome collapses. I look from Rune's struggle to the flickering silver light, and the translation burns in my mind. 2 who were enemies, now allies, and both have to bleed. The ritual demands both of us. Rune is trapped behind a wall of his own people's fear. That crown thing leans harder by the second. I am the only one standing here with a willing captain and a knife. If I don't try, everyone dies, including him. It isn't about proving Merrick wrong anymore, and it isn't about pride. The altar needs blood, and mine is the only blood standing close enough to give. I'll do it. My voice is steadier than I feel. The altar responds to willing sacrifice. I'm willing. Merrick studies me, then nods and hands me the ceremonial blade. Don't make me regret this. I might regret it enough for both of us. I take the knife and move toward the altar. The guards give me space, forming a loose circle, and their eyes press against my back. The carvings glow in the strengthening dawn. I trace the words I translated last night. The crowned spirit's laughter rolls across the grounds, low and unbroken. Nell! Rune's roar carries across the sacred ground, desperate and furious. He's thrown off one scout, but Kravik has him in a lock and is dragging him back. He meets my eyes across the distance and shakes his head. Don't. He knows the ritual requires two, and he knows I'm about to try it alone. I have to, I scream back, tears blurring everything. I can't let it fall. He stops fighting for a single breath, the understanding hitting him. If he keeps struggling, he wastes the time we don't have. He goes still in Kravik's grip, his arms dropping to his sides, held but no longer fighting, his eyes never leaving my face. Whatever he's saying, the wind swallows, but I read his mouth. I'm here. I turn back to the altar and press the blade to my palm. This is for the peace we wanted, and for the scout who'd be standing beside me if his own people would let him. The crown thing laughs louder, as if it knows exactly what I'm about to learn. I slice. The certainty that I'm making a terrible choice burns alongside the cut, but my hand does it anyway. Blood wells dark against my pale skin, and I press my left palm flat to the altar stone, letting the crimson spread into the ancient channels. I offer blood freely given. The words come steady despite my shaking hands. I offer intent pure and willing. I offer myself to seal these wards and protect all within. The altar stays cold. I press harder and speak the offering again, this time in the old tongue. I force every syllable precise through the fear, but the stone gives back nothing. No warmth, no answering light. My blood only pools colder in the carved grooves. The crowned spirit's laughter swells as if feeding on each failed word. The silver flickers and refuses to catch. The magic sleeps on. Behind me, the guards shift and mutter. Someone says human magic isn't strong enough. Someone else says we need an orc shaman. Their doubt pours into mine until I'm drowning in it. I try again and again, but my words fall flat against a stone that has already refused me. Nell, Merrick's voice carries a warning. Stop, it's not working. It has to work. My voice cracks around the edges. I can make it work, I just need. The altar flares, not silver. A blinding, violent white, and for one cruel heartbeat I mistake it for an answer. Then the rejection hits. Magic lashes back through the connection and sets my blood on fire. The force throws me off my feet and slams me into the ground. The impact drives the air from my lungs. The crowned spirit's laughter peaks, delighted and vast. I feel it press the altar one final time. The push tells me whose work this was. Under the pain, woven into it, I imagine his voice. Not in my ear. Somewhere behind my breastbone, my own panic borrowing his cadence because there is no one else left to call my name. Nell. It is not him. It is what I want him to be saying. The magic rejecting me carries the sound, even as the altar would not carry my offering, refusing my blood and giving me back only the shape of him I have been holding all night. I lie there gasping, my palms screaming where the altar burned its refusal into my flesh. The smell of scorched skin mixes with incense and old blood. Gods damn it! Merrick drops to his knees beside me, gripping my shoulders. Are you hurt? Can you hear me? I'm fine. The lie tastes of ash and scorched skin. I just need to try again. You're not trying again. His voice is flat and final. The altar rejected you. The guards gather closer, their faces showing fear and confirmation in equal measure. They expected this, and they just watched me prove every word they'd said about my judgment right. The shame burns hotter than the wound on my palm. I sit up, cradling my injured hand against my chest. The burn marks spiral across my skin in patterns that match the altar's carvings, a permanent reminder of failure. Why didn't it work? Marcus asks with real confusion in his voice. You did everything right. It requires both of us. I knew it, and I still tried to do it alone, what was meant for two. My pride. Gods, my pride almost killed everyone here. The cynics' faces line up in my head. Merrick's contempt. The merchants who took my smile and called it stupid behind my back. The training instructor who said hope gets people killed. Every voice that ever told me hope was a child's coin I should have outgrown. I'd built my whole self against them. With lucky charms and terrible puns and off-key humming on patrol, the small defiance I wore like armor. Asking Rune to cross would have meant naming what we were to each other in front of both our peoples. I wasn't ready to do that with Merrick watching in disgust, so I picked up the knife. I told myself I was being brave, and I was being a coward who couldn't bear to be seen reaching. My mother's voice surfaces when I'm too tired to hold it back. Hope is the work, sweetheart. Feelings come and go. Flowers wilt. The work stays. She died believing humans and orcs could find common ground, and she was still believing it at the end. I've spent every year since collecting pretty things to prove she was right while refusing to do what she did. She'd asked every time, without flinching, even when the people she asked turned away. The wilted flowers in my hair feel heavier now. Accusation, not decoration. I'd braided them in this morning believing they were a small bravery, and they were, just not the kind I thought they were. Anyone can wear flowers when nothing's at stake. The trick is leaving them in after the whole thing burns down and your captain calls you a child for braiding them. That's what my mother did. She held to what she believed in while everyone she loved called her a fool for it. Reaching is what got her killed. I never understood it until right now. I'm sitting in the dirt with a brand burned into my palm. The man I love is watching me from somewhere I can't reach. I don't know, I lie instead. Maybe the magic is too old. Maybe we need a shaman. Merrick stands, brushing dirt from his knees. His expression has shifted from anger to something worse, resignation. We need to figure out another way. The wards are failing faster now. We have maybe an hour before spirits breach. The guards talk over each other, suggesting solutions that won't work. Someone mentions finding an orc shaman. Another suggests trying fresh blood. A third recommends abandoning the festival grounds and running for reinforcements. No one says the thing that needs saying. I kneel in the dirt with the answer in my mouth and refuse to spend it. Spending it means naming what rune is to me, and I'd have to do it in front of every face that already thinks I'm a naive girl who got people killed. Then I find him. He isn't with his scouts anymore. He's already passed the boundary of the sacred ground. Kravik follows a step behind him and does not reach for him. Rune's hands stay open at his sides as he comes. To me, he broke free of everything that held him and he's crossing anyway, after I sent him away. The truth of it cracks straight through the pride I've been hiding behind all night. He reached, he's still reaching, and I'm the one sitting in the dirt refusing to. She never once stopped reaching, no matter who turned their back on her. That is what she did, and it's the one thing I've been collecting pretty stones instead of doing. The crowned spirit still leans on the altar, still laughing, as the wards thin behind it. The only thing between that laughter and the dawn is the two of us. Together, we have to do what I just proved I cannot do alone. So I leave the lucky stone where it lies, deep in my pocket, untouched. I leave the wilted flowers in my hair, brown petals and all. I get my feet under me. My branded palm screams and I let it. I stand up out of the dirt to meet him. The man I love crosses the last of the ground between us, and this time I reach back, my good hand open and lifting toward his.
She stopped humming. I'm still on the wrong side of the sacred ground, too far away to do anything but watch. Nell stands with her back to me, shoulders tight, her hands moving over the ancient carvings. My brother is talking, something about duty and reckless choices, but his voice fades because all I can see is her hand sliding to the lucky stone in her pocket. Once and then twice, and then a third time in under a minute. My skin prickles cold, slow, from my scalp on down. She always hummed while she worked, terrible off-key tavern songs that made no sense and yet kept her steady when everything else was falling apart. I'd heard that melody carry her through spirit attacks and blood loss, through moments that should have silenced anyone. The quiet she's wearing now is the wrong thing, and I know it like I'd know a snapped twig in a silent wood. Stone and steel, what have I done? Her hand shakes as she traces the next symbol. The tremor is small and she's fighting to hide it, but I can read it from across the sacred ground and I know what it means. She's getting ready to finish the ritual alone. The translation slams back into my head. The right takes two who were enemies and are now allies. Both must bleed or the bond will not hold. Not enemy or ally, but both of us together. She's going to cut herself open and offer blood to a magic that won't accept it. The ritual was built to demand cooperation. Without me, it will refuse her. Best case, nothing happens and everyone dies when the wards fail. Worst case, the magic takes her blood and kills her for trying the right wrong. My lungs stop working. I'm watching her get ready to die. I was too much of a moss-brained fool to tell her the truth. I love her and it comes down to that. My brothers respect my standing with the clan. None of it weighs anything against being at her side. I'd rather fail beside her than win on their terms. Move, gods damn it, move. My feet stay rooted to the frozen ground, heavier than they have any right to be. What will I find if I cross that ground? Her rejection or her belief that it was only survival adrenaline, or nothing at all because I'm already too late. Kravik's hand grips my shoulder. Are you listening to me? I turn to face my brother, and the words rip out before I can think them through. I love her. His hand drops, the other scouts go quiet, and every orc within hearing stops moving. What did you say? Kravik's voice is careful and controlled. I love her. My hands are shaking now, matching Nell's across the divide. That human at the altar, Nell, I'm in love with her. If I don't stop her from trying this alone, she's going to die. It will be my fault for being too scared to choose her. Roan, you can't. I can. The words come out of me fast, 3 years of them at once, more than I mean to say, and none of it I can stop. I've spent all this time trying to earn back your approval, trying to prove I'm not the reckless youngling who made one catastrophic mistake. My hand opens and closes at my side, knuckles brushing the scab on the forearm I cut for her at the shrine. But she looked at me last night and saw someone worth trusting without my having to prove anything first. My breath plumes white between us in the gray air. She followed my calls through impossible odds and made me feel capable because she believed I already was. Kravik's face does something complicated. She's human. She's brave, my voice cracks on it. She sees the good in everyone even when the world keeps proving her wrong, and she makes me want to be better than I am. The clan won't accept. I couldn't care less what the clan accepts. The last of it tears free, raw and final. I don't care if I lose my position, my standing, or every single thing I've been working to rebuild for 3 years because she matters more. Kravik's eyes flick once toward the human formation, then back to me. She's always mattered more, and I was too terrified to admit it. My brother stares at me like I'm a stranger, and maybe I am. I've been pretending to be the scout he wanted for 3 years. If you do this, there's no coming back. His voice drops, a warning laced with grief. You'll lose everything. Then I lose it. I brace for the grip on my shoulder, the one that held me at the shrine and cost us hours. It doesn't come. Kravik's hand stays at his side. He looks at me like he used to before the day I cried wolf, and he doesn't try to stop me. Better to lose everything for her than to keep it without her. I'm moving before he can change his mind. I cross the sacred ground toward the altar and toward Nell. My pulse won't settle, and my hands keep fidgeting no matter how hard I try to hold them still. I keep walking anyway, because stopping means watching her die. The human guards notice me. Marek steps forward with his hand on his sword. Stay back, his voice carries authority. She doesn't need you. The ritual requires both of us. The words come out harsh and desperate. Enemies turned allies, the both of us together. If she tries this alone, the magic will kill her. Doubt flickers across his face. A captain's training catching a tactical truth even when he doesn't want to hear it. Please, the word rips out of me. I know I hurt her, and I know I said things I'll never take back, but if she tries to finish this offering without me, she'll die, and I can't. My voice breaks. I won't lose her, not when I never told her the truth. Marek's hand drops from his sword. He studies me for a long moment, weighing something he doesn't have a word for. Then he steps aside. Give me no reason to regret this, orc. I won't. I move past him, the air thick around me, each step harder than it should be. Past the altar, out where the dome buckles and gives, the dead surge toward the shrine in one mass, and the tall one leads them. The rust-eaten crown rides crooked above a face that is only hate, and the laugh is the same one I've heard since the first arch the night began. It has been on our trail the whole way. Now it leans its full weight on the stone where Nell is bleeding. It presses the altar shut against her. That's why the magic won't take her, not her blood, not her words. That thing is holding the door. I clear Marek's line, one stride onto the human side and no more, and the altar flares. It isn't the silver of acceptance. The white light is blinding and violent, a scream of rejection. The magic lashes out and throws Nell backward. Her body folds wrong as she strikes the ground. The crowned spirit's laughter climbs over the wind, vast and pleased. In my gut, I understand that it did this. It pressed the stone shut and let her break herself against it. Nell, the scream tears out of my throat. I'm running now, and terror shrinks the world down to the crumpled figure on the ground. She isn't moving, and the smell of ozone and scorched skin hangs heavy in the air. I slide to my knees beside her, my hands hovering, afraid to touch. She's curled in a ball, cradling her left hand against her chest. Rune, her voice is a broken gasp. She uncurls and her face is dirt-smeared where it hit the ground, the tears cutting clean lines through it. I'm here, I reach for her, my heart hammering. Show me. She holds out her hand. The skin is angry red and blistered, and in the center of her palm the altar's rune is branded deep, a mark of rejection. The rage hits clean. If the altar had a throat, I'd already be at it, but there's no body to break here. Only stone, ancient and indifferent, and now at last a thing I can name, the crowned spirit. Every scout pattern in me wants a target, and for once the night has given me one. I bank the violence into my hands instead, into the careful grip I keep around her wrist. I tried, she whispers, her body shaking. I thought I could do it alone. You foolish, brave human. I ease my fingers around her wrist, terrified by the damage. You can't do this alone. I had to try. Tears tracked through the dirt on her face. Merrick wouldn't let you pass, and there was no time. I know. I cup her face with my free hand, my thumb stroking across her cheek. You're the bravest person I've ever met, but trying to face this alone, trying to prove something you should never have had to prove. I know that one. I did the same thing to you last night, and I called it being careful. A tear escapes, tracking down her face. You said the claim wouldn't hold past sunrise. I was wrong. The confession comes easier than breathing. I was terrified of failing you, of repeating what happened on my first mission, of caring about you, and finding out it was another reckless impulse I hadn't thought through. So I said things designed to hurt you before you could hurt me first. I said things too, her voice is wrecked, called what we had survival adrenaline, acted like you didn't matter. You were trying to protect yourself. I pressed my forehead to hers, breathing the same air. We both were, but I'm done protecting myself from you. I'd rather risk everything and fail than be safe without you. She searches my face for the lie, and I let her see all of it, the fear and the conviction both. I love you, Nell, I say, loud enough for both peoples to hear. I love your terrible puns and your off-key humming, and I love that you still braid flowers into your hair even when we're fighting for our lives. You made me feel worthy by trusting me to be careful instead of making me prove I'm not. The words carry. I hear them land out across the sacred ground, past the altar, into both lines of watching soldiers, and the field goes still in their wake. Behind me, the orcs have heard it. I don't have to turn to know. I feel it like I felt the wards break. Something moves behind me. Every scout in the clan now knows one of their own has stood on enemy ground and named a human woman before the elders. Somewhere in that silence is Kravik, who let me go. Somewhere is every orc who will carry word of this back to the clan. On the human side, the same hush. A captain's detail watching a guard they trained get claimed across the line. Their whole lives told them to hold. I have just thrown away everything I spent 3 years rebuilding. I did it in front of every person whose opinion was supposed to matter. I find I would do it louder if I could. Her breath hitches. Your clan can accept it or not, and I don't care anymore. I pull her closer. You matter more than my standing with anyone alive. My people will think I compromised my judgment, but she's leaning into me now, hope bleeding through the hurt in her voice. Then they're wrong. I stroke my thumb across her cheek and catch another tear. Your judgment kept us alive last night. You compromised nothing. You chose something better. I chose you. It comes out of her fierce despite the tears. I picked you, and I was terrified it made me the naive fool everyone says I am. You chose hope, and that's the bravest thing I've ever seen. I press my forehead to hers. Behind me the laughter keeps rolling, the crown thing still leaning on the altar, and I make myself say the rest fast. And it's still here, the tall one. It's holding the stone shut, and the only way we shut it up is the two of us together now. She kisses me. The touch is desperate and messy, all salt and tears. Her hand finds my jaw in the same place it found me the first time. She tilts my head the quarter turn that clears the tusk, sure of it now, and I let her. After everything I said to her last night, her hand still comes to my face like it belongs there, and that lands somewhere under the kiss and stays. I kiss her back like I'm trying to make up for every minute I'd spent pulling away. When we break apart, both our peoples are watching. My brother's face has gone slack, watching me walk away from everything he ever wanted for me. Merrick's expression is complicated, disapproval mixed with a grudging respect. The other scouts shift, and the human guards whisper among themselves. Let them watch and let them judge. I don't care anymore. Nell takes my hand and turns back to the altar. You ready? Yes, I study the carvings with her, reading the ritual we should have completed as partners from the start. I take her branded hand and lay it flat on the altar. I cover it with my own, my palm pressed against her blisters. I share the heat of the burn because I'll share everything else from here on. We don't need blood, I say, my voice rough. You've given enough. the bonds only waiting on the other half, the word to seal the blood you already spent. The crowned spirit leans harder. I feel it through the stone, through her hand under mine. A cold pressure tries to hold the door shut against us both. Its laughter is the loudest thing on the field. Ready, her voice is steady now. With you always, I meet her eyes, and we speak as one, straight into the teeth of that laughter. Rune of the Stonefang clan, I say it loud and clear. I offer my word, enemy turned ally, to seal the wards and bind the spirits. Nell of Riverside Village, her voice doesn't shake. I offer my word, enemy turned ally, to seal the wards and bind the spirits. The altar blazes silver white, and this time the light holds. Magic surges through our joined hands, burning cold and freezing hot at once. The wards strengthen. Silver spreads from the shrine across the whole valley floor. Ancient power answers enemies who became allies, then became something the ritual could not have planned for, which is love. The dead shriek as the wards seal. Grave by grave the magic takes them back, dark shapes thinning into the dawn, ancient rage let down to rest at last. The crowned spirit fights it longest. It hauls against the seal at the head of its host, the crown sliding on that hateful nothing of a head. I feel it strain through Nell's hand, still pressed under mine. This is the last of them, the will that drove the others, the thing that hunted us from the first arch to this stone. Then the seal closes over it too. I have felt its hand on the terrain since the first arch, the mind behind the hurting in the kill box and the patient laugh. In the instant the seal takes it, that hand lifts clean off the night. The laughter stops. It doesn't fade, it stops, cut clean, gone between one breath and the next. The silence after is the best sound I have ever heard. For a few breaths nobody moves. The silver dome holds above us, whole and unbroken. Somewhere up in the broken arches a bird calls, then another. Both lines of soldiers are still standing where the seal caught them, faces tilted up at the new light. The quiet rings on. The light dies down, we gasp, still pressing our hands together, and under my palm the brand is already knitting closed, the magic sealing flesh and bond at once. It worked, Nell's voice shakes with relief. We worked, I squeeze her hand. The angry blisters are fading, leaving only a faint silver scar where the brand had been, like we were meant to. I look up, the flickering is gone. No thinner spots, no dim patches where the spirits had been pressing through, just even silver from arch to arch. The elders used to describe the original treaty wards in exactly those terms, built to last. The last few spirit shapes at the boundary thin out as I watch, not driven back but released, whatever ancient rage held them letting go at last. For one long heartbeat, no one moves. Both search parties stay locked in their formations, weapons half drawn, faces turned up, waiting for the night to come back. It doesn't. Kravik lowers his axe first. He doesn't say anything. He just lets the weapon drop to his side and looks at me across the altar. His face holds a look I haven't seen in 3 years. He used to wear it when I came back from a successful patrol. That was before the day I cried wolf. Merrick steps off the formation line. He stops once before going to the casualties, finds Nell across the altar and gives her one tight nod. Stay alive, the gesture says, the same nod he gave her every time she walked out the gate ahead of his patrol. Then he's moving to the fallen guard, all business, triaging the night's casualties, and the other humans follow his lead without waiting for an order. The orc scouts hesitate, then break formation. Some move toward Kravik for orders, and some just stand there, looking up at the dome. Marcus is the first human to look at me. He doesn't speak. He lifts his hand a few inches, a half-wave that's more habit than meaning, then thinks better of it and nods instead. He's never done that before, least of all to me. I nod back. Both groups go quiet and uncertain, dispersing to deal with the aftermath and giving us room. They leave us alone at the altar. Nell touches my face and I lean into her palm, starving for her after a night of being kept apart. I thought I'd lost you, her voice cracks. Never, I turn my head and kiss the silver mark in her palm where the brand used to be. The hum of it touches my mouth. It's the same low note I've felt in my sternum since our blood first mixed, steady now and settled because she's settled. You won't lose me, the bond won't let you, and I wouldn't let you even if it would. Then I'll keep you, she pulls me down into a kiss. It starts tender, then climbs into something with teeth. We kiss like two people who spent a whole night believing they'd lost each other. We bled all night and faced down the dead, but nothing tonight frightened me like watching that altar throw her down did. I need to put my hands on her and feel her breathing. I need to know the bond under my ribs is still pulling towards something alive. Come with me, I take her hand and lead her into a sheltered fold of the ruins, old stone walls standing between us and every watching eye. Dawn filters through the gaps in the stone, warming the ground. Nell reaches for me, and I catch her hands and bring them to my mouth. I kiss her knuckles, her palms, the healed mark that hums against my lips. I taste copper and magic and the impossible fact that she chose me back. I need you, the words come out rough, not to claim you, just to feel that you're here, that this held, that the bond's still mine to come home to. It's yours, she frames my jaw with both hands, her thumb finding the tusk on my left without being told, as it found me the first night. And so am I come home. I kiss her with the desperation of someone who almost lost her. My hands tangle in her hair, the last of the wilted flowers shake loose. The tusk grazes her bottom lip and I pull back half a thumb's width without thinking. It's the same correction my body has been making since the first night. She catches my jaw before I can finish and presses her mouth against the tusk on purpose. Her thumb finds the point of it and stays there, deliberate, in front of no one but me. She makes a sound that goes straight through me and presses her body flush against mine. My hands find the fastenings of her shirt, and I work them loose with shaking fingers, reverent despite my raw need. Her skin is warm beneath my palms, soft where I'm rough. I learn the small scar under her collarbone, the place her ribs go ticklish, the flower stem still caught in her hair that I work loose with 2 fingers. I want all of it by heart, in case this is a dream I might wake from. Look at you, the words escape before I can stop them. Flowers in your hair through the end of the world. You too, she pulls at my shirt and I help her, letting her see all of me. God's rune, every time I look at you, I can't believe you're real. Her hands explore my chest, tracing scars and muscle, and when she touches the bandage on my forearm, her expression softens. Does it hurt? No, I catch her hand and bring it to my mouth. You fixed it, you fix everything. Some things I'd rather break open. She sets her branded palm flat in the center of my chest and pushes. The surprising strength in her small frame walks me backward until my back meets the cool stone. I let her, but I can fix this, fix us. And this time I'm setting the pace so you can stop deciding how careful you're allowed to be. The first time I led, I built her up by inches, read her breath, governed every degree of it because the size of me made governing it my job. She's taking that job away from me. The strangest thing happens when she does. The part of me that has been counting all night puts itself down. Down, she says, and I go. I slide my back down the stone until I'm sitting. She follows me, settling astride my lap with her knees pressed to the cold floor on either side of my hips. For once she's looking down at me instead of up. It changes everything, the angle. I'm used to being the one who covers, who shields, who decides what she can take. From here all I can do is hold still and be looked at. Her eyes move over me like she's reading the carvings again. She traces every scar, the burn map up my forearms, the 15 marks, a life she's decided to want. Her palm stays on my sternum the whole time. Under it the bond hums. I have felt it since our blood mixed, a low note living behind my breastbone. I have never felt it from outside until now, her branded hand pressed flat to the source. When she leans down to kiss me, the note climbs. I feel it answer under her palm and answer again behind my own ribs, the same sound in 2 bodies finding its pitch. It's louder when you touch it, I manage. My voice has gone to gravel. I know, she drags her hand down my chest and back up, and the hum swells and ebbs under her like a tide she's learning to call. It does that. I want to hear what it does when you hold me. That undoes more of me than her hand could. And then there is no more space between us, no caution left, only her hand flat over my heart and the bond roaring up between her palm and my ribs until I cannot tell whose pulse is whose. She takes all of me the way she takes everything, on purpose and all the way. And when she sets her thumb to the point of the tusk other people flinch from and claims even that part of me, the part made to be feared, my answer needs no words. We come apart together, her name in pieces in my mouth, and the 2 notes of the bond folding into one. For a long moment we don't move. Her thumb slides off the tusk to rest along my jaw. The bond settles, both of us breathing it down, the 2 notes folding into one low steady tone where her hand still lies over my heart. Outside our fold of stone, the world keeps making its small sounds. A bird, the first one, somewhere up in the broken arches. Daylight birds, not night ones. The scuff and murmur of 2 search parties tending their wounded on the far side of the shrine. The ordinary morning going on. Your tusk, she says eventually, her voice rough and her thumb tracing it once more, slow, no fear left in it anywhere. I used to watch the angle of it so I'd know where to put my face. I don't have to watch it anymore, I just know. I noticed, my hand spreads over the small of her back, keeping her where she is, not ready to be empty of her yet. You stopped flinching from it a long time before tonight. I never flinched, she tips her forehead to mine. I aimed. A laugh comes up out of me, the same place the rough sounds came from, and her palm feels it go. There's that, she says, pleased with herself, and presses her hand flatter to catch the next one. The bond hums on under her thumb. I let my eyes fall shut and my whole weight go into the stone at my back, and I keep her there against my chest while the morning birds work through their song.
We walk back to the gate slow, both of us heavy with what the night cost us. His hand is wrapped around mine, and his thumb rests against the silver mark in my palm. The mark hasn't stopped humming since the seal closed, a low note that lives under his thumb. He doesn't ask what to call it. I don't either. Whatever it is, it doesn't need a name yet. Merrick is waiting at the gatehouse when we reach the boundary stones. He watches us cross the line into human territory together. The old scar pulls tight at his brow. Still, he doesn't move from where he's standing. Nell, Merrick's voice is the same one he uses at dawn drills, not friendly and not unkind, just functional. We need to talk about where you're sleeping tonight. Then he lifts his chin toward the wall and raises his voice. Sergeant Linden, with me. I let go of Rune's hand, because when the captain says with me, it isn't a request, and Rune stays where he is. Linden trots over from the wall, the other sergeant on the night detail, and her braid is coming loose after a watch that started before dawn. She doesn't look at Rune, but she doesn't make a show of avoiding him either. Her eyes stay on Merrick, because that's where the order's coming from. The gatehouse storeroom, Merrick tells her. Clear the crates to the wall, set up 2 cots, and make it livable for the week. Linden's gaze flicks to me, then to Rune, then back to Merrick. Aye, Captain. She salutes and goes, and I'm grateful she didn't linger to watch. Merrick turns to me, and the scar pulls again. You're not bunking with the rest of the detail, not while he's here. The other guards aren't ready for that, and I'm not going to push them past what they can carry yet. The storeroom's small, but it's got a door that locks from the inside, and that's the deal until I figure out the long version. Yes, sir. And you, his eyes move to Rune. If your clan comes asking, my orders are to send them off. They can take their summons up with me. You're not their problem at this gate. Rune nods once. He doesn't thank Merrick, because Merrick wouldn't take a thank you right now, and they both know it. The mess opens at sundown, and you'll bring him. Merrick's tone gives me nothing soft to hold on to. The detail's going to look. Let them look. Don't perform and don't smile through it. Just eat your food and go to bed. Yes, sir. He nods once and turns back to the wall, and the conversation is finished. I lead Rune across the courtyard. The storeroom is one of the small rooms cut into the gatehouse's south wall, the kind normally kept for grain barrels and rope. By the time we reach it, Linden has shoved everything to the wall and dragged in 2 narrow cots. The wood smells of dust and dried oats. Above the door sits a single high window with a piece of oiled cloth nailed across it, and the light that gets through comes in gray. Rune has to duck to come through the doorway, and when he stands in the middle of the room, he takes up most of it. Both cots are too short for you. I've slept on worse. He sits down on the nearest one, and the frame creaks under him while his feet hang past the end by a good half a foot. That's not encouraging. His mouth tips at one corner, and his left tusk catches the gray light. It's not the cot I was worried about. I sit on the other cot, across from him, with a gap between us no wider than my own knee. I've never had my own room, I tell him. I've always bunked with the detail, 5 women in a long room with a stove going all night. This is the smallest room I've ever had to myself. I'm calling it spacious. Is that good or not good? I'm working it out. He studies my face, then lets it go. The bond's low note shifts a fraction under my palm, and I press my thumb across it without thinking. Rune catches the movement, and his own thumb does the same against his sternum, so that we both notice each other noticing. It does it more when I'm tired, I tell him. Mine does the same. We sit there in the dust smell with the cots between us. Somewhere on the wall above us, a guard calls the watch change. Boots scuff over stone. The ordinary day goes on, as if nothing has changed on the other side of the door. I lie down without bothering to take my boots off. My body ends the conversation before my mouth does. Rune makes the same choice on his side. He shifts until his hand drops off the edge of his cot, and then he stretches it across the narrow space between us, palm up. I put my palm on his. The silver mark sinks into the calluses of his hand. The low note under it goes quieter, settling as soon as it finds his pulse to rest against. Now it sets its own tempo by his. That's how we sleep. I wake once when there are voices at the gate, two of them, low and rough, asking after Rune by name. Merrick's voice cuts through and tells them no. He points them to where they can take their grievance. He names the hour they can come back if they want to do it formally. They don't come back. I close my eyes again. His thumb rests across the silver mark, holding the note steady against my palm, and I let it carry me back under. 3 months later, a winter solstice festival fills the same grounds where we nearly died. I'm humming that old shepherd's tune while I check the perimeter, the same chorus that's been stuck in my head for 3 months now. Rune walks beside me, scanning sightlines without realizing he's doing it. He still counts the vendor stalls under his breath. I've stopped teasing him about it. The count is useful, and I'd rather have him doing it than not. These garlands are absolutely gorgeous, I say. He groans, your puns have not improved. And your appreciation hasn't either. I bump his shoulder with mine. He goes a little still under the contact. 3 months in, and he still does that when something matters. Then he leans back into me and his shoulders settle. We've been running joint patrol training for 2 months now, teaching humans and orcs to work together using what we learned coming through that night alive. Both sides still default to suspicion before they reach for trust. But it's working. A young orc trainee jogs over from the eastern path, his braids new and clumsy, and his clan tokens are still made of plain wood. It's Tarn, one of Kravik's recent assignments to the joint detail. He stops 2 paces from us and bows like a human bows, awkwardly, still learning the gestures. Sergeant, he addresses me, not Rune. He's still the only orc trainee who does it without being prompted. Beside me, Rune notices. His mouth shifts toward something that isn't quite a smile. The River Road caravan came in short a wagon. Stopped twice by orc patrols, paperwork in order both times, and both times someone made them unpack the whole load anyway. My eyebrows go up. Whose patrols? I don't know the names, but the second one was past the old arch, and that's our sector. That's me, Rune says. I'll find out who, and I'll have a word. I already had a word. Tarn's tusks show in a grin. They didn't believe me when I told them it was your assignment, so I came to find you. Good. I touch his shoulder, the gesture quick and easy, and he doesn't flinch from it like he used to in the first week. Tell the driver we'll have it sorted before the next run, and then come find me at the food stall in an hour. I want to walk the route with you and figure out where the friction points are. Tarn nods and jogs back, and past him I can see his human partner waiting at the eastern arch, already in formation. The 2 of them start walking the route together without checking with anyone first. Kravik appears from the northern route, his axes still on his belt though he's been off active patrol for an hour. He isn't here for tactical reasons. He stops a few paces back and waits to be noticed, because he's here for Rune, not for me, and Rune's brother has very specific protocols. Rune, just the name a summons. Rune squeezes my hand and steps a few paces off. I leave them to it and turn back to the cider vendor, pretending to weigh the prices. Really, I watch the conversation from the corner of my eye. I can't hear what Kravik says, and I don't need to. Rune's shoulders settle a fraction. Kravik looks past him at the joint patrol working the eastern path. He pulls something small from his belt and passes it to Rune without any ceremony. The handoff is quick, with no flourish and no eye contact. A single nod, and he walks off toward Merrick's position to coordinate the rotation. Rune stays where he is, the small thing held in his palm. He doesn't move, and I know what his face is doing without needing to see it. When he comes back, I take his hand and turn the carving over with my fingertips. It's 2 figures, one human and one orc, set spine to spine in formation. The orc stands taller than it should. The human's blade sits at the wrong angle for fighting paired like that. Kravik did not get the proportions right. He made it anyway. He carved that, I ask, even though I don't need to. Last week, Rune's voice comes out rougher than he means it to. He told me he wasn't sure he'd give it to me. He turns it once in his fingers. The clan held their reckoning while we were standing up the patrols. I've lost the standing fight I'd have had this winter, the one I spent 3 years working toward. No bid for the honor scars now. They stripped it, just as they warned me they would. His thumb finds the 2 carved figures where they stand joined in the wood. And Kravik carved this and walked onto human ground to put it in my hand anyway. But here it is. Worth more than any scar they could have given me. His thumb stills on the wood. His forearms are bare in the winter light, 3 years of penance with nothing on them to show for it, and I watch him not look at them. I used to measure what I was worth by what wasn't there, he says, catching my glance. I've stopped. This counts for more. I trace the back-to-back line with one fingertip, 3 years of his brother's disappointment behind us, and now this in my hand. I close Rune's fingers around it, slow, and lean up to kiss his jaw before I step back. Keep it forever. I will. Merrick joins us from the western route. His scar still pulls his frown tight, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is that he and Kravik coordinate security now. They actually talk instead of working in hostile silence. They trade information about threats and patrol patterns like colleagues instead of enemies. Festival's proceeding well. Merrick addresses both of us. No incident so far. Yet, I grin at him, but I have faith in people's ability to not mess this up. Your faith is terrifying. But Merrick's mouth tips into what might be the beginning of a smile. He doesn't apologize for what he said to me 3 months ago at the shrine. He doesn't have to. An hour ago, he took Tarn's report to his face without a flinch or a sideways look, an orc trainee bowing wrong and Merrick nodding him on like any other scout. That's the apology, and we both let it be one. The captains leave to continue their joint patrol, and Rune squeezes my hand. We did this, I say, quiet enough that no one else can hear me. You did, he says. I was 3 months late. 3 months early. I bump him with my hip, for some of the people watching anyway. A courier is waiting at the food stall when we circle back around, human, a new face, sealed scroll in both hands and his weight shifting foot to foot. The early recruits stood like that too, before they learned an orc wouldn't bite. Marcus stands beside him, talking him down with quiet patience. From the Haverton border post, Marcus says when we reach them. They want training, asking if Merrick can spare one of you to walk their sector. I take the scroll, read it twice, and hand it back without breaking the seal further. Tell them 3 weeks, Merrick first, then me. While Marcus relays it, the courier keeps stealing looks at the joint patrol on the eastern path, eyes tracking the human and the orc moving in step, fixing it down so he can carry it home whole. Haverton, Rune says, keeping his voice even. That's 100 miles north. And they wrote. My mouth tips into the small curve I only wear when something works that I hadn't expected to. They didn't have to write. They could have ignored everything we did here and kept doing things their own way. But they wrote. That's the 3rd one this week. Rune nods, and we keep walking. The sky is taking on that flat winter blue color that means evening's coming on early. We pass the shrine where we completed the blood offering. My fingers brush the lucky stone through my pocket, the same one I've carried since the riverside skirmish. My thumb has worn it smooth. I don't pull it out. I just touch it and keep walking. 3 years ago, I'd have rubbed it through my pocket the whole circuit, but now it's one touch, and then my hand comes away easy and finds runes. The festival goes on around us. Music drifts in from both sides. Human harvest songs come from the western stalls, and orc drumwork comes from the east. The keys are different, and both are holding. Children play near the food stalls. An elderly orc woman haggles with a human baker over the price of honey cakes. The two of them laugh at a joke I can't quite hear. It's slow going still. Some scouts won't take a human partner, and some human guards grip their weapons tighter when an orc passes them. I elbow Rune. You're walking too slow. The eastern path needs us by sunset. I'm appreciating the work. You can appreciate the work and walk faster. I bump his hip with mine. Come on, scout. I start humming again, low, the melody I carried through the night the wards broke. Rune matches my pace as we walk on toward the eastern arch. Tarn and his partner are already in formation there. The festival winds down by full dark. We do the last circuit together while the vendors pack their carts. The drum players from the orc side are already gone, and their absence leaves the western harvest songs to thin out alone over the grounds. Children go home over their parents' shoulders, faces pressed in, asleep before they clear the boundary stones. Rune touches my elbow when the last of the human caravan rolls out. Walk with me. We follow the perimeter the long way back, past the shrine where everything almost broke. The carved altar is dark now. Whatever silver light it once carried has gone out. The spirits that pressed at the air have gone with it. Only the dark stone is left, cooling under the night. I find his hand without thinking, and he finds mine. "Cold tonight," he says. "It's going to get colder." We don't go straight back to the joint barracks. He leads me up the ridge instead, along the narrow scout path he's been walking for years. We sit at the top, where the festival grounds spread out below us. The lanterns glow, and the noise is quieting down. The dome of stars overhead is bright enough that I can see his face when I turn toward him. "Show me your hand," he says. I hold it out. He takes it palm up, and his thumb finds the silver mark where the brand had been. The scar is small, no bigger than a coin, a faint sheen against the rest of my skin. It hasn't hurt for 2 months. It's a record now, that's all it is. He runs his thumb across it, slow. "It hums," he says. "What does?" "This," he presses his thumb in gentle. "Your scar. It hums under my hand, and it has done since the joint ritual. I notice it most when I'm not paying attention to it." I close my fingers around his thumb, holding him to the spot. Beneath the silver mark the note runs on, quieter than a pulse, a low tone held steady under his skin and mine both. Without him naming it for me, I would have missed it entirely. "How long has it been doing that?" 3 months, his mouth tips. "I wasn't sure until just now whether you felt it too." "I feel it." "Good." He brings my palm up to his mouth and kisses the silver mark, careful with his tusks against my fingers. I didn't want to be carrying it alone. I lean into his shoulder, and the note under his thumb shifts a fraction lower, like it does when it's settling. We sit there. Below us, the last of the lanterns go out one by one, and the festival grounds empty into the dark. Someone on the orc side is still drumming, slow and steady, the kind of rhythm that isn't meant for dancing. "Mother wants you at the gathering," he says into my hair. "I told Kravik we'd come." I know, I heard him. "You're not nervous." "I'm a little nervous." "She'll like you." "She'll judge me for a solid 40 minutes, and then she'll decide whether she likes me." A laugh rumbles through his chest and into my shoulder. "Yes, probably that." I hum the chorus to The Shepherd's Daughter, off-key and quiet, and the note under his thumb picks up the rhythm. It threads through where our hands are joined. His pulse and mine run together there, mixed with whatever else fused at the altar 3 months ago. All of it keeps time on its own, without any of us having to ask. He's the one who notices first. "You're humming." "Always." I can hear it twice. I lift my head to look at him, and he taps his sternum once with his free hand. Once with my ears, once here. My breath catches. I'd known about the steady note under his thumb, the hum, the bell tone, whatever it was. What I hadn't known was that he was hearing me from the other side of it. All these months I'd been listening for him at the bond, and the whole time he'd had his ear pressed to the same wall, listening back. Has it happened before? Not like this. Neither of us speaks for a stretch, listening. I think it only happens when you're settled, when you're calm. The bond is quieter than I thought it would be, and I kept expecting it to be loud. It's not loud, I agree. It's just there. He breathes in slow, testing what I just said against his own sense of it. Then we leave it there. The drum on the orc side ends on a beat. Below us, the festival grounds drop into full dark. Only the silver dome over the shrine still glows, faint and steady. It has held that light for 3 months now. "We should go back." "In a minute." He doesn't move, and neither do I. We take the long way back after a while. Hand in hand, we walk the scout path. The note keeps time with us the whole way down. If Nell and Rune got their hooks under your ribs, there's more where they came from. Soulbound to the Orc is book 0 of Stone and Storm, the doorway into a world where the old hatreds are real, the bonds are deeper, and every couple has to say the dangerous thing out loud before their own people will let them keep it. The saga continues from here. New hearts, new clans, the same promise, a love worth bleeding for and brave enough to name. Get Soulbound and stay first in line for what's next. https://buy bookfunnel.com/4TDAC65G0. Browse the whole series on Amazon. https www.amazon.com/stores/author/b0fsid6kq5. Nell and Rune's Night was only the beginning. The Stone and Storm series continues with Stormbound to the Orc, a healer running from a burning village, an exiled orc warrior who has lived alone for 5 years, and one snowed-in cave that already has an occupant. Turn the page for the first chapter. Well, you're not dead yet, so that's promising. I press my palm flat against Gideon's forehead, feeling the fever that's been cooking his brain for 3 days straight. His skin burns like a forged stone fresh from the coals, slick with a sweat that smells of rotting meat and the thin, sharp tang of desperation. The plague has its claws buried deep in this one, and we both know it. How promising. His voice cracks like old, sun-baked leather, each word a painful effort. On a scale of 1 to 10, you're hovering around a generous 3. I dip a cloth in the wash basin, wringing out water that's already gone lukewarm from the oppressive heat in the room. The smell of feverfew and willow bark hangs thick in the cramped space, a medicinal veil that can't quite mask the underlying stench of sickness. But hey, 3 beats the grave, right? Gideon tries to laugh and ends up dissolving into a coughing fit instead, a wet, rattling sound from deep in his chest that makes my stomach clench into a tight knot. I've heard that exact cough before. It's the sound men make about 6 hours before they stop breathing altogether. Great. Another one who's going to die on me despite everything I do. I shove the thought down and focus on what I can control. His pulse, when I find it at his wrist, threads weak but steady under my fingertips. His breathing is shallow, but it's regular. The fever broke twice yesterday before spiking again, a brutal climb that left him delirious. It means his body's still fighting, still throwing everything it has at the disease. These are good signs, if you squint and ignore the part where he's almost certainly going to die anyway. Drink this. I hold a chipped ceramic cup of bitter tea to his lips, supporting the back of his head with my other hand. The willow bark extract tastes like liquid misery, but it's the best chance he's got against the fever's relentless assault. I know it's disgusting. Think of it as punishment for being stupid enough to wander into plague territory. You've got a terrible bedside manner. But he drinks, grimacing at every difficult sip. Good, he's still stubborn enough to follow orders. Yeah, well, I'm not here to hold your hand and whisper lies about rainbows. I'm here to keep you breathing long enough to complain about my attitude. I set the empty cup aside and check the poultice on his neck, where the plague boils have swollen to the grotesque size of duck eggs. The herbs are doing their job, drawing out the poison, but it's like trying to empty a lake with a teaspoon. Besides, if you wanted sweet words and gentle comfort, you should have gotten sick somewhere with better healers. There aren't better healers in the northern reaches. People say that sometimes, right before they die on me anyway. Kieran said it too, right at the end, when the poison was eating him alive from the inside and all my skill, all my knowledge, meant nothing but watching him suffer with a clearer understanding of how his body was failing. Stop it, focus on this patient. Right now, here's what you can do something about. I adjust the rough-spun blankets around Gideon's shaking frame, tucking them tight against the morning chill that seeps through the cottage's wattle and daub walls. Deep into the harvest season like we are means winter's coming early, a wolf sniffing at the door, and sick people need warmth above almost everything else. The fever makes them think they're burning alive, but their bodies are fighting a war that consumes every resource they've got. Try to sleep. I gather my supplies, tucking glass bottles and waxed paper pouches back into my leather bag with practiced efficiency. I'll check on you this afternoon. Try not to die while I'm gone, yeah? It makes me look bad. Where would I go? He murmurs, his eyes already drifting closed. Hell, probably, but do me a favor and wait until I'm not the one responsible for keeping you out of it. I pause at the door, looking back at his pale, sweat-sheened face against the lumpy pillow. He looks like death warmed over, but he's still breathing. For now, that's something. And Gideon, if you feel worse, send someone to fetch me. Don't be a hero about it. He manages a slight nod, already sinking toward the drugged sleep the willow bark brings. I step outside into the crisp morning and check my hands, inhaling the familiar, clean scent of herbs and medicine that clings to my skin no matter how often I wash. Feverfew, willow bark, and a hint of mint from the digestive tea I prepared for the Thatcher twins. It's better than the smell of death and failure that seems to follow me everywhere else. The village of Millbrook spreads out below Gideon's Hill Cottage like a collection of children's toys dropped by a careless giant. Smoke curls from chimneys where families are gathering around breakfast tables, grateful their loved ones woke up healthy this morning. 23 houses, a mill, a single tavern, and a tiny, weathered shrine to Valdris, the mountain god. The population hovers around 60 souls on a good day. 15 cases of plague in the past 2 weeks. 4 deaths so far, and counting. I dig into my pocket and pull out a smooth piece of green stone I found yesterday near the mill pond, running my thumb over its cool, slick surface. Pretty things help when the world insists on being ugly as sin. This one's the color of new spring grass, with tiny flecks of gold that catch the light like trapped stars. Kieran would have said I collect rocks like other people collect problems. He wouldn't have been wrong. The morning air carries the sharp, clean bite of approaching winter, a welcome shock in my lungs after the stifling sickroom. Storm clouds gather over the eastern peaks, dark and heavy-bellied with the promise of rain or snow. We need the moisture for the wells, but sick people don't fare well in the cold, damp weather that will follow. Come on, mountain weather, I mutter to the clouds, which are building like an angry bruise across the sky. Give me another day or two before you dump all over us. The path down to the village proper winds between skeletal vegetable gardens and withered herb plots, most of them brown and finished for the season. But Lady Bramble still has late rosehips growing wild and defiant along her fence, bright scarlet clusters that haven't been touched by frost yet. They're perfect for an immune support tea, assuming any of my patients live long enough to benefit from it. I hop over the low stone wall and start picking, talking to the plants like the old friends they've become. Looking good this morning, ladies. Mind if I borrow a few of you? Got some dying people who could use the help. The rosehips pop off their stems easily, fat and ready for harvest. I fill a small linen pouch with the best ones, leaving plenty for the plant and for the birds that will depend on them as a winter food source. Take what you need, but never everything. The first rule of herb gathering, one that too many greedy idiots ignore. A pretty piece of milky quartz catches my eye near the base of the fence, worn smooth by rain and wind into a perfect oval. I pocket it next to the green stone, adding to my collection of small beauties that make this hard, ugly world a little more bearable. Some people drink to cope with death and suffering. I collect rocks and talk to plants. We all have our methods. The village stirs as I make my way toward the main street. Children chase chickens between the houses while their mothers hang laundry on lines stretched between fence posts, the damp cloth snapping in the breeze. They are the normal sounds of normal people doing normal things, except for the worried, sidelong glances they shoot toward the houses where yellow ribbons mark the sick. The fear is like a gathering storm, but with more desperation and fewer options for shelter. Morning, Ember. Sarah Ironbark waves from her front garden, where she's pulling the last of her carrots before the ground freezes solid. How's young Gideon doing? Still breathing and complaining about my tea, I call back, pausing by her gate. I note the dark circles under her eyes and her repeated glances toward the Thatcher house 3 doors down. Both are good signs. How is your Tom feeling? His fever broke late yesterday evening. He's asking for proper food instead of your broths, so I figure that's progress. The best kind of progress. Keep him on light foods for another day or two, just to be safe. Sometimes the appetite comes back before the stomach remembers how to work. Adjusting the strap of my bag, I feel the familiar weight of dwindling supplies. The willow bark is running low, but I know where to find more. I'll stop by this afternoon to make sure he's not backsliding. You're a blessing, Ember. Don't know what we'd do without you. Die faster, just like they did in Haverton last spring and Riverside the year before that. Just doing my job, I say instead, because people need hope more than they need brutal honesty most of the time. Even when hope is in shorter supply than medicine. The Thatcher house sits quiet and dark, the yellow ribbons hanging limp in the still air. Mrs. Thatcher lost her husband 5 days ago, and now she's nursing their twin boys through the same sickness that killed him. She's a tough woman, but grief and exhaustion are wearing her down to almost nothing. I knock on the door, not wanting to wake anyone who might be resting. Come in, Ember. Her voice sounds hollow, scraped raw by too much crying and not enough sleep. The boys lie in their small bed, sharing blankets and body heat. Torin, the older twin by 10 minutes, shows the telltale flush of fever across his cheeks. His brother Luke is breathing easier, his color better, the worst of it behind him. They're maybe 8 years old, all sharp elbows and jutting knees and stubborn cowlicks that refuse to lie flat. How are we doing this morning? I kneel beside the bed, pressing the back of my hand to Torin's forehead. Still warm, but not the furnace heat that means I'll be digging graves by tomorrow. His fever's coming down, which is what we want to see. Luke's been asking for porridge, Mrs. Thatcher says from her chair by the window, where she's been keeping vigil all night. Is it safe? That's a wonderful sign. It means his body is remembering how to want food instead of just fighting to stay alive. I check Luke's pulse, finding it strong and steady. This kid's going to make it. Start him on thin porridge, maybe with a little honey if you've got it. Nothing too rich until we're sure his stomach is ready to handle real work again. And Torin. I examine the younger boy more carefully, noting how he responds when I touch him, the steadiness of his breathing even in sleep. The plague boils on his neck have shrunk, and his skin feels cooler than it did yesterday. His body is winning the war, slow and steady. He's turned the corner. Give him another day or two, and he'll be complaining about being bored and asking for food too. I mix a mild dose of fever-reducing tea, measuring the herbs with practiced precision. Keep giving him this every few hours and make sure he drinks plenty of water. His body is doing the hard work now, we just need to support it. Mrs. Thatcher nods, clutching the small pouch of tea mixture like it's a lifeline. Thank you, I don't know how to repay you for this. Keep your boys healthy, that's payment enough. I give her shoulder a gentle squeeze, feeling the tension and sheer exhaustion in her muscles. The woman is about to collapse, and you need to get some rest yourself. You can't take care of them if you fall over. I'll try. Don't try, do it. That's a medical order from your bossy healer who doesn't take no for an answer. I gather my supplies, making a mental note to check back this evening. I'm serious, Mrs. Thatcher. They need you healthy, not heroic. She manages a weak, watery smile. You sound just like my mother. Your mother sounds like she had sense. Listen to her voice in your head instead of the guilt that's telling you to stay awake until you drop. I slip out of the house and continue my rounds, visiting the Fletcher family, where the old grandmother showed the first signs of sickness yesterday, then the baker's wife, who's nursing her newborn while fighting off the plague herself. Each case is different, a unique battle against the same relentless enemy. By mid-morning, I've used most of my willow bark and all of my feverfew. It's time to gather more supplies, which means a trip to the herb patches I maintain in the hills above the village. The storm clouds look closer now, pressing down from the eastern peaks like a gray wool blanket that's about to smother everything underneath. I take the path that winds up through the pine forest, breathing in the crisp aroma of resin and fallen leaves. This high up, the air feels purer, less touched by human sickness and the general mess people make of the world. My private gathering spots are hidden in clearings and meadows where the right plants grow wild and strong. The first patch sits in a sunny clearing, maybe a mile from the village, protected from the wind by a ring of ancient oaks. Willow bark, feverfew, mint, and a dozen other useful plants grow here in tended abundance. I planted some of them myself over the years. Others were gifts from old healers who taught me their secrets before dying and leaving me to figure out the rest on my own. Morning, beauties. I kneel beside a healthy stand of feverfew, its small, daisy-like white flowers still blooming despite the late season and the approaching storm. Hope you don't mind sharing. I've got sick people depending on you to keep them breathing. The plants come up in my experienced hands, roots intact for replanting next spring, assuming we all live that long. I bundle the stems quick and sure, filling my pouches with enough medicine to last another week if I'm careful with the doses. The familiar, grounding work soothes something tight in my chest, connecting me to the green, growing world that never judges or fails or dies gasping in my arms. A glint of blue attracts my attention close to the bottom of an oak tree. Another stone for my collection, this one the color of deep water with veins of white running through it like frozen lightning. I add it to my pocket with the others, small, solid weights that ground me to the earth and its quiet beauty. At least rocks don't get sick and die on me. The willow grove lies deeper in the forest, following a small, chattering stream that runs over stones worn smooth by countless years of flowing water. The trees here grow tall and graceful, their bark thick and rich with the compounds that ease pain and reduce fever. I select several younger branches, careful not to damage the parent trees, murmuring my thanks as I work. "Thank you for the medicine," I murmur to the largest willow, running my hand over its rough, textured bark. "I hope I'm using your gifts well enough to matter." A stick cracks somewhere behind me. I freeze, every sense sharp and focused. The forest has gone quiet. No birds singing, no squirrels chattering. Even the stream seems to whisper more softly, as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something terrible. Another sound. Boots on fallen leaves, someone trying to move quietly but not quite managing it. Hell. I grab my herb bag and ease deeper into the willow grove, using the thick trunks as cover. My heart beats fast but steady, a familiar thrum that floods my body with the clean energy that comes from real, tangible danger instead of the slow, creeping dread of disease. This isn't plague or sickness or people dying despite my best efforts. This is something I can run away from. The sounds multiply. Multiple people moving through the forest with a stealth that's too clumsy for hunters or local woodsmen. The metallic clink of weapons. Low voices giving directions in the harsh, guttural accent of the mountain clans. Raiders, gods damn it all to the deepest hells. Stories from other villages flash through my memory, told by other healers who escaped, tales of armed groups sweeping down from the high mountains to loot and burn whatever they can find. These raiders target small, isolated settlements like Millbrook, places with no real defenses and plenty of supplies to steal. They are the people who kill for sport and for profit, especially when the target can't fight back. The village lies between me and the raiders, unaware of the danger creeping toward it through the morning forest. Mrs. Thatcher with her sick boys, Gideon burning with fever, Tom Ironbark just starting his recovery, all of them helpless against armed men who kill for entertainment. I should warn them. I should run back down the path screaming at the top of my lungs, giving everyone a chance to hide or escape, or at least fight back with farm tools and desperate, hopeless courage. But raiders move fast, and I'm just one person with an herb bag and a pocket full of pretty stones. Before I could reach the village, they'll already be there. My warning might save a few lives, or it might just get me killed along with everyone else. The voices grow closer, rough and casual, as they discuss their plans as if they're talking about the weather. Remember, we want supplies and coin, not just corpses. Dead people don't tell you where they hide their valuables. What about the healer? Gray said there's always a healer in these mountain villages. Take her if she's young enough to be useful. Kill her if she's not. Healers cause trouble if you leave them alive to patch up any survivors. My blood turns to ice water in my veins. They know about me. Someone scouted the village, told them Millbrook has a healer worth taking or killing. This isn't a random raid. They've planned this attack, chosen their target, and decided my fate before I even knew they existed. Well, that's just fantastic. Nothing like being marked for death by complete strangers on a Tuesday. I ease further back into the trees, moving as quietly as I know how. The stream offers suitable cover, its constant murmur masking the small sounds of my retreat. If I can work my way upstream, maybe I can circle around them, get to higher ground where I can see what's happening. Or maybe I should just run. Head deeper into the mountains, find some cave or forgotten shelter, wait for the raiders to take what they want and leave. Save myself and hope the villagers survive without me. The thought tastes like bile and cowardice in the back of my mouth. These are my people, my patients, my responsibility, even if they're all about to become another one of my failures. But I'm one healer with a bag of herbs against a dozen armed raiders who kill for a living. What am I supposed to do? Fight them off with feverfew and a healthy dose of righteous indignation. Think, Ember. Use your brain instead of drowning in your own regrets. I can't save everyone. I can't heal what I'm not there to treat. But I can't help anyone if I'm dead, either. Sometimes the smart choice and the right choice aren't the same thing, and sometimes you have to live with being smart instead of right. The sound of running feet erupts from the direction of the village, followed by shouts and then screams that cut through the morning air like broken glass. They've started their attack. I'm out of time for moral debates and useless self-recrimination. I run. Not toward the village, not toward the raiders, but up the mountain, following the stream into the wild. My herb bag bounces against my hip as I navigate fallen logs and slippery rocks, my feet finding purchase on terrain I know by heart. The forest closes in around me like a protective embrace, hiding me from view and muffling the sounds of destruction from the valley below. Behind me, thick black smoke rises from the direction of Millbrook. Orange flames lick at the morning sky, consuming homes and lives and everything I've worked so hard to protect. I'm sorry, gods, I'm so sorry. The stream leads me higher into the mountains, toward wild country where few people ever venture and fewer still survive. There are no trails here, no shelters, no supplies except for what I carry in my bag. But there are also no raiders, no fire, no death following at my heels like a faithful dog. The storm clouds press lower, heavy with moisture and the promise of misery. Rain would help put out the fires below, but it would also make survival up here next to impossible without proper shelter. I need cover, and I need it soon, before the weather turns from uncomfortable to deadly. A memory surfaces from my apprentice days, something old Master Cornelius once mentioned about caves in the high mountains. Natural shelters used by hunters and hermits, spaces where a person could wait out the worst of the weather. Most of them were empty, forgotten, safe from human violence, if not from human comfort. Thunder rumbles overhead, echoing off the mountain peaks like the laughter of angry gods. The first fat raindrops splatter against my face, cold and sharp, and carrying the promise of much worse to come. I need to find shelter now, before the storm breaks in earnest and turns these hills into a frozen death trap. I follow the stream higher, my lungs burning in the thin air, my legs shaking from exhaustion and adrenaline. Each step takes me further from my old life and deeper into a future of complete uncertainty. But each step also takes me further from the flames and the screaming, from failure and death, and the crushing weight of a responsibility I can never quite carry without it breaking me. The stream curves around a massive, moss-covered boulder, revealing a narrow valley hidden between steep walls of stone. Trees grow thick here, sheltered from the worst of the wind, and the sound of water suggests deeper pools where fish might shelter. It looks like a place where caves might form, carved out by centuries of patient water. I scramble up the rocky slope, my eyes searching for any dark opening that might offer protection from the coming storm and whatever else might hunt me in these woods. The rain is falling heavier now, turning the stone slippery and dangerous. My clothes stick to my skin, cold and uncomfortable, while my herb bag grows heavier with absorbed water. There, a dark opening between two fallen stones, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through, but deep enough to offer proper shelter from the elements. I peer into the darkness, seeing stone walls that stretch back further than my eyes can follow in the gloom. The air smells of damp rock and old earth, clean and empty of any human presence. Perfect, nothing like a creepy, dark cave to make everything better. I squeeze through the narrow opening, feeling the rough stones scrape against my shoulders as I work my way inside. The space opens up once I'm past the entrance, becoming wide enough to stand and move around in. It's dry, which is the most important thing, protected from the wind and the rain and anyone who might be following me. I set down my heavy herb bag and pull out the stones I collected this morning, arranging them on a flat rock like tiny, personal treasures. The green stone, the quartz, the blue stone with its white veins. Small pieces of beauty in a world that has gone ugly, reminders that not everything ends in fire and death and screaming. Outside, the storm builds to its full fury, the rain drumming against the stone and the wind howling through the trees. Inside, I'm dry, safe, and alone for the first time in my adult life. I should feel relieved. I should feel grateful for surviving when so many others almost certainly didn't. Instead, I just feel empty, hollowed out, like something essential has been carved out of my chest and left behind in the burning village to bleed out while I watch from a safe distance. My people are dead or scattered or worse, and I ran away to save myself. It was the logical choice, the smart choice, the choice that keeps me alive to help other people another day. It doesn't make it feel any less like cowardice. I pull my knees to my chest and listen to the storm build outside my newfound shelter, trying not to think about Mrs. Thatcher and her boys, about Gideon fighting off his fever, about all the patients who needed me and got fire instead. The guilt sits heavy in my stomach like spoiled meat, mixing with exhaustion and fear, and the bitter knowledge that sometimes doing the right thing means having to live with consequences that feel wrong. The cave stretches back into darkness, offering depths I haven't yet explored and secrets I haven't uncovered. Tomorrow, if the storm passes and I'm still breathing, I'll need to find food and water and figure out how to survive in this wild country where orcs and worse things are said to hunt in the shadows. But tonight, I just need to rest and try to forget the smell of smoke and the sound of screaming, and hope that being smart instead of heroic doesn't end up eating me alive from the inside out. I close my eyes and let the steady rhythm of the rain on stone lull me toward a fitful sleep, my collection of pretty stones clutched warm in my palm like small, hard promises that beauty still exists somewhere in the world, even when everything else has burned down to ash and memory. Stormbound to the Orc is available now. Continue Ember and Thane's story wherever you found this book. Luna Draven writes orc romantasy for readers who want the fantasy and the feelings, big worlds, bigger warriors, and the soft, stubborn women who refuse to flinch from either. Her heroes are gentle where it counts and dangerous where it matters, and they always say the brave thing out loud in the end. Her heroines keep their hope like a blade, sharpened, carried, and never once apologized for. Join the newsletter and be first in line for every new release. http://www.dreamcrestpublishing.com